your fantasy team from falling off the track. Football is back, Jack. Whether on the ground or through the air, when the chips are down and you throw a prayer, when your team is primed and on the hunt, it's 4th and 10, you refuse to punt. When the shoulder pads and helmets crack, that's how you know that football is back, Jack. Let me hear you say football is back, Jack. This high is wild and out of control, and we're gonna ride it every week till we reach the Super Bowl. Don't need no check downs. Give me big hits and quarterbacks. If you say this game's the best, I'll say it's a gag. Football is back, Jack. Football is back, Jack. Football is back. Football is back, Jack.
Jeremy was supposed to be off today, but the Marlins have won 7 straight, so he rushed into the office to just compute playoff permutations because the Marlins do have a mathematical chance if they win. Yes, I know.
Really?
It's stunning, Tony. Now, it's not a very good mathematical chance. In fact, I say that this is really challenging to math. I think it's going to be challenging to Jeremy. They need a whole bunch of teams to keep losing, and some of them are all playing each other. So that's going to be problematic. Like when you need the rest of the teams that are ahead of you to lose all their games and they're playing against each other. I haven't figured out how it is that they can get past those teams. But last night, they win. They dragged the Rangers, ruined the Rangers season. Then they go up last night to Philadelphia. They're losing 3-0 in the 8th inning, and they win in extra innings against a team that can win the World Series, a team that's good enough to win the World Series, although Bryce Harper didn't play last night because the Phillies are waiting for the postseason to start. But Mike was supposed to be off today, and he rushed in because he was mad about yesterday's first 20 minutes of the show. He didn't like the way that we talked about the Miami Hurricanes after Jeremy didn't like the way we talked about the Miami Hurricanes. So let's begin with Mike Ryan's objections to what was said yesterday about the fact that in retrospect now, the first 3 games of the Hurricane season have been against opponents who have now lost a combined 6 times in 3 games.
Right. Miami represents over 60% of those losses. Would you like Miami to lose these games so you can feel better about the teams they're playing? You said Miami's offense isn't as good. I would suggest that you need more offensive drives to look good. Last year, Miami averaged about 15 offensive drives a game. This season, they're averaging 11. I reckon that if Miami has 4 more drives per game, you get more points. And I guess it also helps with style points, too. I don't know. I mean, Jeremy tied himself into a pretzel yesterday by saying that Miami scored late to make that game look worse. You know what made that game look bad? The stats. The score wasn't – I agree, the score wasn't reflective of what that game was. It should have looked uglier. But instead, you got Miami taking 9 minutes to salt the game away on a drive. That's not stuff that happened last year. You got tricked by Miami getting more plays into thinking that's what an offense is supposed to look like. This team is playing complementary football. They're forcing out their opponents 3-and-out, top 5 in the nation type numbers. Their defense is better in part because they're fresher, because the offense is staying out there longer. So I do think that yesterday required a little bit more context. However, you guys did kind of find it at the end, which is we're a month into the season. And by your metrics, only Ohio State is good?
The thing that I have noticed, because the metrics don't help me in what it is that I'm about to say, I saw a team that I thought overwhelmed both Notre Dame and Florida. But I was scared for Miami at the end of both of those games. Like, we can say all we want about Miami dragged Florida, but Florida was literally inches from being inside your 30-yard line in the middle of the 4th quarter with the ability to take the lead with a touchdown when I didn't see them move the ball at all in the first half. And the results, those games being close, was legitimately confusing to me. because it's not like they were spitting up the ball the entire time, although Carson Beck did have a bad turnover in the last game.
I mean, bad turnovers, all turnovers are bad, right? But I think Cormani McLean made an exceptional play there. I mean, that's a youth thing. If you're nervous with 6 minutes left in the third quarter because it's a one-score game against a rival with a really good defense, Florida's probably going to be – I know they were missing some guys, but that's still going to be the hardest defense that we probably play all season. That's a youth thing. Miami controlled all those games. Has Miami trailed at any point?
What do you mean you're saying that's a me thing, not a you thing, the letter U, right? You're saying that's a me thing. Because I think the you thing is Mario Cristobal is going to be in close games all the time with the better team. What just happened there to your microphone?
Flaccid microphone.
It's kind of screwed up. I didn't want to call in engineering and bother them, but it's kind of screwed up.
I think, I guess you should be encouraged because Miami has been tested there. I actually think that Notre Dame is a good team. They played two teams with the top 4 strength of record. That's another thing that you guys were talking about. Miami hasn't played anybody, and they have the number 4 strength of record in the country. So I don't know. You guys didn't make any sense.
So nobody's played anyone by that.
You guys didn't make any sense. Do you think Notre Dame has a good offense?
I don't think Notre Dame has a good defense.
Okay, but that's not the question that I asked. Do you think they have a good offense?
I think they're fine at offense.
Do you think? No, they're scoring a lot of points. Do you think they're good at offense? Because you're not going to answer because you know I'm tricking you because Miami averages more yards per game than them.
I don't think that I know if Notre Dame is good or not, and I'm not going to know all season because of what their schedule is. Their first 2 games of the season, they played the 2 opponents that are the toughest, and they lost to both of them because they couldn't stop either one of them, and they stopped Miami more than I expected them to stop Miami, given what I saw of the physical play in that game, where I thought they were the lesser team physically, and I thought Miami should have beaten them by more. I don't think that the Miami or Florida game should have been close. Late. I don't think so.
The Florida game wasn't close. It wasn't. Florida was within 6 points in a rivalry game with 6 minutes left. It wasn't close. That game should have been 20-0. We all acknowledge that. Even the referees acknowledge that to Mario Cristobal. If that game goes that way and is 20-0, then what are you talking about?
You can't say the game wasn't.
You can't tell me that the game was close when I'm looking at the stats and I see that Miami absolutely destroyed this team.
The scoreboard said 13-7, and Florida had a 3rd and short that ended up being a 4th and short that they missed by inches.
Right, because they didn't actually convert any third downs because that game wasn't actually close.
There was also cheating by the referees. Kane's had a touchdown. They just decided, no, this doesn't count.
Was last year's game between Miami and Florida close? No. Well, you know what the spread difference between those 2 games were? 5 points. Miami was 5 points less dominant than they were last year.
But there was not a single moment in that game where there was any doubt.
Mike, you cannot.
I think there was in that final. Actually, no. I remember Florida scoring a touchdown on a interception return, by the way, which is kind of crazy. It's like nobody remembers that Cam Ward threw picks anymore.
You can't say that the Florida-Miami game wasn't close.
It wasn't. Look at the stats in the totality of the game.
Look at the scoreboard when Florida had the ball 3rd and short with a touchdown to take the lead.
No. Yeah, they had to score that touchdown. They scored 1 touchdown all game. That's fine if you want to get all scared in the third quarter and doubt that Miami can respond with an answer.
Why would I doubt Cristobal in those spots? Why would I ever?
I don't. You know what? Mario Cristobal isn't going to shut you the hell up until he wins the national championship.
That is correct.
That's cool. But I would say that yesterday's college football talk, as it pertains to the Miami Hurricanes, was just an embarrassment. But I don't go to you or Jeremy for ball. That's not what I do.
Okay.
I don't. You embarrass yourself. It was terrible.
Yes, but
I got reached out to by a dozen people. I listened back to it because
Speak their names.
All right, there's Mike in West Palm. There was Filete. There was, hang on, let me get all the Menchies on X. All right, it was closer to a half dozen, but I thought it was going to be really bad.
You said we got there at the end.
Yeah, because you realize, this is dumb.
They
Ohio State is good.
54 points.
I mean, okay. I don't know. They had a chance to convert a 4th down, and then DJ Lagway was going to look 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage for his next target. They controlled that game. They controlled the Notre Dame game, too. I wasn't very...
That's right. You know which one they controlled last year, too? The Georgia Tech game. They control a lot of games and then lose them late.
They weren't. They were trailing. No, they didn't, actually.
Forgive me, 2 years ago when they were kneeling at the end, or not kneeling at the end is what I meant.
Terrible memory.
Yeah, again, another reason why Mario Cristobal isn't going to shut you up. There is a narrative, and people have decided that what will get in Miami's way is Mario Cristobal's game management, and that may very well be true. But over the last 2 seasons now, 1.5, last season, he was in a bunch of 1-score games. a bunch of one-score games, and every NFL time analytics person that I talked to said he made the right calls.
You
there.
have time analytics friends?
Yeah. Well, I have friends that have friends. Yeah, that he made the right calls in all those situations. He's not gonna. People have made up their mind. College football is a hard sport to follow all the games.
Mike.
Yes,
he's earned it. It's not like it's not like we're just saying that as if it's not something we've seen throughout his career. He's got to erase it.
He's got to erase it just the same way that a lot of people have had to erase the narratives around them, like Ed Orgeron, like Les Miles, like Dabo had to, like Clemson had to, and then when they do it, like Kirby had to. I remember the narrative around Kirby. Then they shut you up. And you don't remember all the crap that you said, and you just move on accepting it. And that's the only way that Mario Cristobal is going to shut people up. And I concede that. He's got to win a 6 natty for this program, and that's what he's working to do.
Shouldn't it make you feel better, though, Dan? Because, those games, Georgia Tech, whoever in the last couple of years, the games would be close, and the Canes would blow it. These games have been close so far, and the Canes either held on or they would then extend the lead like this week. Shouldn't that make you feel better then?
Here's the reason it doesn't, okay? Those teams, when I was watching them, I wasn't saying they're appreciably better than the other team that I'm watching. They have played 2 games that should be close by rivalry, but when I watch what I'm watching, I'm finding it inexplicable that the games are close. That Notre Dame game, I don't understand how it was close late. That Florida game, I don't understand how it was close late because I'm watching a better Miami team than the one that I have seen for 4 years.
Well, thank you for admitting that Miami's dominant in these games and controlling these games and putting them away. I also think contextually there's been a monsoon at Hard Rock Stadium for a month straight. And that also plays into these rivalry games that are also naturally tighter. Miami has played Notre Dame and Florida in these conditions. Very slick. That first half against Florida was extremely wet. They've had 1 turnover combined in both of those games.
Look, I was fighting through the weather conditions throughout that entire game. If I'm fighting through those conditions, you can imagine what the Hurricanes offense had to do to get through
That's
it.
where you sit now.
That's where I sit for games now.
I think that the way that the Hurricanes are built should help them be better in bad weather because they look fit. Do you know how rare it is for a team in college football for me to watch a college football team play against an SEC team and say that team is physically overwhelming an SEC team? That team is physically overwhelming a Notre Dame team that I'm assuming is going to have good offensive line play and had a good pass rush last year.
I think you're just espousing the virtues of what this team is. Notre Dame is not appreciably less talented than Miami. And by the way, last year you were probably saying in September Notre Dame is no good because they lost to Northern Illinois, and then they did what they did. So I'm
not going to know whether Notre Dame's any good until the playoffs come and they throw them in there because they've only lost the first 2 games of the season and then the rest of the schedule was easy.
Okay, so you've already established the narrative. I just think that we should probably have some pause, apply the appropriate context to this game, and actually compliment Miami for salting games away that they struggled to salt away previously. They don't have this huge talent disparity against the teams. Florida recruits at the same level that Miami does. Notre Dame is a national runner-up last year. They're playing their style of football. They're keeping their defense fresh, and this is how you win late in the season.
Look, I didn't like Notre Dame being ranked at 0-2. I don't give a about these quality losses when you have 0 wins. But Notre Dame now being 1-2 and ranked 22nd, they're telling us that Notre Dame is good. They're clearly saying Notre Dame's good if they could be 1-2 and they're ranked.
You know who else is telling us Notre Dame is good every week, despite on Saturday they were actually 0-2 entering that game against Purdue? Nick Saban, who is still pounding the table saying that's going to be a playoff team. And Nick Saban knows ball.
According to ESPN Analytics, which might not know ball, the Gators have roughly the same chance to lose out and finish 1-11 as they do to become bowl eligible.
Oh yeah, the one thing that Jeremy said was right was that Florida record is not going to look good.
My God,
they have every reason to quit. I think that was their last stand, and they got a really impossible schedule. But if Florida was playing a different schedule, they could be 3-0 with the talent that they have on defense. And
it's that South Florida loss that was the kill. Like if Grammatica misses, I can't believe we're still doing Grammatica. If Grammatica misses that kick, You feel so different.
That was
about
a really
the Gators
bad.
right now.
If you watch that, the Gators choked that away. But here's one thing that I will tell you, knowing how Dan has espoused the virtues of these two programs down here that aren't part of the big three, UCF and USF. If USF beat Miami, Dan and many other people would be rightfully claiming that USF is the best team in the nation for what they have put together. And then everyone just forgets that Miami beat that team so bad they knocked them from 18 to others receiving votes.
What's your deal with Grammatica?
Oh, it's just how many generations are we going to do this for?
Every generation needs a kicker.
Well,
Needs a Grammatica.
how many are we going to do this?
We got one more after this. If this guy has a kid and that kicker starts going up, you're going to be 65 years old, 7 years old. He's going to be kicking.
And every single one of them has to play for USF?
That's right.
Hey, go to another school.
No, legacy. What do you know about legacy?
I know plenty about
Where
legacy.
are your kids going to school?
We'll see. I don't
do
know.
you want them to go to a certain school you
We're
went
going
to?
to go to Santa Fe.
I would like them to go to University of Florida.
Okay. So
Why
I'm
would you
done.
do that?
I'm done with
that
the
a weird dream that you
Zaslow
had?
legacy of Florida. I'm
Legacy
done.
over here.
Do what I couldn't.
I think that he'd like them to go to the University of Florida, at least in part, because radio doesn't allow you to afford the University of Miami.
Bingo.
Yeah, that's true.
Because University of Miami
Your kid
is
could get better grades
expensive.
too and get actually paid for going to school.
Nico Grammatica, put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Is there going to be Grammatica kicking footballs until the world ends
enough already.
In fire? You mentioned Ed Orgeron earlier. I want to ask the group here before we go to Jeremy and playoff baseball permutations. I just want to ask the groups, since we're speaking of Gators, if alligators could actually speak, would they sound like Ed Orgeron? Do you imagine that if you heard an alligator yelling at you angrily or exhorting you, for example, at the golf course, trying to summon patriotism for you, would it sound like this?
All right, on three. Loud and clear now. Loud and proud, baby. Here we go. 3.
USA! USA!
Lead us, Ed.
USA!
What is this? What is he doing?
This is at the Ryder Cup, and this is getting the juices flowing. That's what it's doing.
The best job in sports, the fired college football coach, just doing side quests. Like, where's Ed Orgeron today? Oh, he's at the Ryder Cup.
And that's a practice round.
firing people up.
That's a practice round that he's like, all right now, here we go. That's pretty good. Thank you.
Why did there need to be coordination for USA chants? Only 3 letters.
Yeah, there was quite the foreplay there.
All right, 3, 2, 1, right? All right, here we go now.
Does everybody have the right letters?
Chris is good at this.
It is funny.
First the U, then the S, then the A. Don't tread on me. When I recruited Joe Burrow.
Ed Orgeron, anybody who watched Ed Orgeron's career ascent from graduate assistant at the University of Miami, who once got into a bar fight on Bourbon Street before a Sugar Bowl game, because of course,
Everybody did.
Because of course he did. That's right. Everybody did. To see Ed Orgeron's ascent and then watch at the end at LSU when he had the greatest college football team there has ever been. And
I recruited Joe Burrow.
And he won with it. And then there are reports of boosters getting angry because wild man Ed Orgeron is hitting on wives at the gas station. And there are reports about a whole lot of malfeasance, including sexual misconduct throughout the program. And he just gets sort of quietly bought out and says, yeah, thank you. I'll take my money and go. I'm out of here. I'll just roam the earth partying and sounding like an
Exactly
alligator.
the plan.
Famously, he tells the story often.
Which door would you like me to walk out of?
What was the buyout on Orgeron? Because as punctuation, he's not going to do better than, wait a minute, I get to coach the greatest college football team there's ever been, and then I could just leave. And I'm always seeing Ed Orgeron jogging shirtless through South Beach. Like he's just running out there, red, solid, thick.
So solid.
So it's solid, very solid. He told us he drinks how many energy drinks a day? Was it 11? 11 Monster energy drinks a day?
So $17 million was his buyout, but he's had some issues with his marriage, and now he owes his wife half of the buyout. So a little bit more.
It's still
Zaz?
still nice.
You know what they love.
And in a divorce?
Oh, then they really love it.
Okay, everybody loves money. Everyone does.
Specifically.
No, yeah, humans.
But in a divorce, though.
Specifically humans love money. That's right.
When they're scorned, though, they really love it.
Humans?
I don't know about that.
So Jeremy is in the other room, and let's check in on some playoff permutations here. Oh my
boy.
God, dear God. So we've got a situation where the Marlins have indeed won 7 in a row. Jeremy, how many games under 500 are they?
The Marlins currently sit 3 games under 500. The Marlins are looking to go 5-0 the rest of the way to get to 82-80 overall, which is how you can end up with some of these different permutations in a 2-team tie. I'm still working out the math over here for 3-team ties, but if you're interested, Dan, I can walk you through what it would take for the Marlins to ultimately clinch in a 2-team tie
Let's do this.
scenario.
Who do they have the tiebreakers against? What am I rooting for here? I am thrilled that
Well, you're
the
rooting
Marlins,
for everybody to lose, Dan.
The Marlins are playing. Well, they play each other though. Some of these teams play each other. Everyone can't lose.
The only teams that play each other at this point are the Cardinals and the Giants, and we're already in good shape there. Where now, if the Marlins go 5-0, they control their own destiny against the Giants. They have a half-game lead against the Giants, so you don't have to worry about them. What you need from the Cardinals the rest of the way, if you're looking for a Marlins head-to-head victory, is at least one loss, either at the Giants tonight or in their 3-game series against the Cubs, because that would get them to 81 losses. They're currently 78-80, and ultimately the Marlins and the Cardinals split their head-to-head 3-3. As we all know, the next tiebreaker is intra-division record.
Stop for a second. No. Yes, I'm going to interrupt you because this is going to go fast and there's going to be a lot of information here. Do the Marlins have any chance if they don't go 5-0? Any chance?
Ultimately, yes. They can go 4-1 here, but it will take a lot more help and losses all across the board. So you'll need a couple of losses from the Cardinals. You'll need the Reds presently would have to go 2-3 for the Marlins to win the head-to-head. Obviously, that would turn into 1-4. Diamondbacks, same deal. They need to go 2-3. That would have to turn into 1-4. And the Mets, most importantly, would need to lose the next 2 nights against the Cubs, who have completely and utterly fallen apart in terms of winning as of late. They hold the wild card spot. There's not a ton of motivation for them. But if the Cubs can beat the Mets just once and then the Marlins go in and sweep the Mets, the Marlins will end up with a better head-to-head record against the Mets. And ultimately, if they finish at 82-82, as the Marlins do, the Marlins would clinch a postseason berth. But what could end up happening in a 3-team tie are several different scenarios. Over here, you could see all of the different head-to-head records. And ultimately, I'm doing the math here. If the Marlins end up in a 3-team tie with the New York Mets and one of these other ball clubs at an 82-82 record, the Marlins will make the postseason, period. If it's the Mets and another team, the Marlins will make the postseason so long as they go 5-0. If they lose tonight against the Philadelphia Phillies, I can come back in tomorrow and we can go through the record if they go 4-0 the rest of the way.
Chris Cody just said in my ear he's actually doing a good job, which is condescending, dismissive,
shocking,
and sort of insult to you. And then he said the thing, though, that is actual compliment. I understand this. And if you've reached this with, if you've reached Chris Cody with Playoff for Dummies, you have done something, Jeremy, in your communication skills. He does not enjoy his mathematics, and you have games. You got the last week of the season. You've got games that matter. None of that. None of us had that. Nobody thought that the Marlins would be 3 games under 500.
Thought they'd be done by July.
With the team that they put together, clipping.
There's so many games back to be done in July. Marlins are 80 back.
In terms of just feeling like there's just no shot. I know technically they would be alive then. Come on, Saz.
The last week of the season, if I told anybody that we would have games of any kind that would matter, you would think all the teams in the league somehow, even though this is a mathematical impossibility, all of them were 80 games under 500.
Have the Marlins had a top 10 season this season? No, not for like, of all the teams in baseball. Just
you don't mean like in the history of the majors?
No.
Okay.
It could be the Marlins top 10
As
season.
a surprise, yes, they're one of the biggest surprises in the sport that they've been. Look, man, in the middle of the season, they gave me hope before it collapsed because they were beating good teams. That Texas team had expectations. That Texas team was very good offensively and started the season poorly for a lot of different reasons. But They just ruined Texas's season. I can't get any of you interested in this except for Jeremy.
I am curious if this is like
I'm curious.
on MLB Network. Are they talking about this, or is this just in South
No
Florida?
way.
No, they did. No, when the Marlins were winning games in the middle of the season against the teams that they were playing, yes, they were getting attention from national people who haven't paid attention to the Marlins since they were in the playoffs. What are you shaking your head about, Tony? What are you shaking your head no about?
I just don't find it believable that we're a national show. We are talking about the Marlins nationally all the time. There is no way that any other national show has spent any time on the Marlins saying, you know what, Marlins top 10 season this year.
Pardon my take. Was talking.
They talked about the fish?
Marlins. Yes, they were talking.
They're
about
friends
the
with some of their
Marlins.
players. They had a few of them on.
And they were just talking about that stretch that I'm talking about where they gave us brief hope. But honestly, it's been sort of sleepy for the last month, and the reason they're back in it is because they've won 7 in a row. But I wanted to talk collapses with you guys because what is happening right now to the Detroit Tigers is one of these memorable for all time collapses. They were 10.5 games up at the start of September. And it can't be memorable for all time anymore because you have the wild card and people can't actually get knocked out of the playoffs when they've been as good for 2 seasons as the Detroit Tigers.
I mean, they're only 1 up in the wild card right now, the Tigers. They may miss the whole thing.
They may miss the whole thing, but they were 10.5 games up on the Guardians at the start of September. And they've now lost, is it 7 in a row or is it 8 in a row that they've lost? And that means they've lost 2 Scooble
7.
starts. And in losing the Scooble start yesterday, because your ace has to go out there and shut them down. When you see the details on last night where the Guardians are bunting 3 times, and the result is Scooble balks, Scooble wild pitch, Scooble hits on one of the bunts, hits Fry in the face. Ugh. And the best of all of them, Scooble flips the ball over first base with his back to first base on a bunt through his legs. As they collapse, Detroit Tiger fans who finally have expectations are now worried that they're not going to be good enough to beat the Yankees. And as of 10 days ago, or as of 7 games ago, the Tigers looked like they were good enough to beat the Yankees this year, and now they no longer look that way.
I remember people talking about the Padres choking it up a few years ago, and I went back and looked at that. They were 17 games over 500 at one point, and just my mind goes to all the times that the Marlins, both Miami and Florida, have ruined the Mets seasons. And they had back-to-back years in the early 2000s where they blew late season playoff spots.
Well, that's the one I think of in 2007, right, where the Marlins closed Shea Stadium, right? They closed Shea Stadium and Glavine gave up like 8 runs in the first inning, and the Marlins knocked the Mets out of the playoffs when, in mid-September, the Mets had the best record in baseball.
Do you guys think of all-time collapses outside of baseball? Because when I think of all-time collapses, and the Red Sox have been in a couple of them, do you think of collapses outside of baseball? I know we have the December collapses in football around here with the Dolphins.
Yes, the 9-3 Dolphins, 93 Dolphins. I think they went 9-3.
They were 9-2.
Oh no, 9-2. And
Yeah.
what was it? Scott Mitchell was the quarterback.
Yeah, and they lost their last 5 games.
They missed the playoffs entirely.
Yeah.
But that's regionally. When you think all-time historic collapses where you associate with a franchise something that is just end-of-season choking, and you've got a representative sample, obviously. You got 162 games in baseball, so it allows the room for, it's ridiculous in a month for a team as good as the Tigers to blow a 10.5 game lead.
No, it's only. I think it's only a baseball thing because since it's every day, it's a slow death for like the final 2 weeks of the season. It's only a baseball
But
thing.
when you say slow death,
It's a soccer thing, too.
when you say slow death, you're looking last night at, it's not merely losing. It's the way you lose. You got your Cy Young winner, someone who's been unhittable for 2 seasons. Like that, As soon as I saw Scooble at the beginning of last season, when I discovered him, I said to you and everybody else here, I said, that's as unhittable a left-handed person as ever thrown a baseball. Like, I don't understand how anybody hits him, and very few people do. For your ace twice to lose, like, when that's the ace's job. The ace's job is you always stop that. Like, everyone, to lose that way, it's not just losing with your ace, but they're bunting on you, and you're sitting there doing, like, flipping it between your legs with your back to first base and flipping it over the first base bag in a way
Mark Burley?
Yeah, I mean, but no, Mark Burley did it successfully, famously successfully. Scooble did it, and everyone's like slapping their head in the Tigers dugout and saying, oh my God, our best player, the player who is meant to stop this, just made. Go ahead and give me a more ridiculous mistake that can be made than flipping the ball through your legs in a panic over first base. Go ahead. I'll give you the rest of time to give me a more ridiculous decision that someone can make on a baseball field. Then I'm going to have my back to first base, and I'm going to show you I'm going to long snap the ball into right field.
I just like the visual of everyone in the Tigers dugout giving one of these all at the same time.
Well, both David Cone when he was a Met and Chuck Knobloch when he was a Yankee both argued calls with the first base umpire and allowed base runners to just swipe bases and then go home.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good example. Jeremy is still there working very hard on this ridiculous board. Jeremy, do you have an update for us? Has anything changed since we checked in with you 4 minutes and 12 seconds ago?
Yes, the biggest update is that ultimately, if there is a 3-team tie at 82 and 80 for the Miami Marlins, they win 5 of those 6 scenarios. So every single time that they tie with the New York Mets, whether that's the Diamondbacks, the Reds, or the Cardinals at 82 and 80, the Marlins would ultimately come out the victor. Thanks to their head-to-head record against Cincinnati, ultimately going 4-3 against Cincinnati, they would also come out the victor in the Diamondbacks and Cincinnati Reds scenario, because even though they would have the same head-to-head record against all 3 opponents at 7-6, it ultimately flips back to the head-to-head record against one another amongst those 2 best teams. The Marlins taking 4 out of 7 against Cincinnati would get the victory there. They also would have the best win percentage in a scenario where it's the Cardinals and the Reds in a 3-team tie. The only scenario in a 3-team tie where they do not come out on top would be if it's a 3-team tie at 82 and 80 with the Arizona Diamondbacks and the St. Louis Cardinals. Despite the fact that all 3 went 6-6 against each other, Arizona would have the best record against their own division and would ultimately advance. So when you're looking, finally, at 2-team ties or 3-team ties, the only scenarios, if the Marlins win out, in which they do not clinch the final wild card spot, would be if the only other 82 and 80 team is the Diamondbacks, the only other 82 and 80 team is the Cardinals, or if both the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks are 82 and 80 with them. In every other scenario, the Marlins would actually clinch the final wild card spot.
You lost me.
In the other sports, Dan, it's hard to remember regular season collapses. The Dolphins and the Vikings had one, but in the NFL, a collapse is kind of determined by what you do in the postseason. For example, the Titans have had home field in the AFC 3 times. Every time they have the home field as the number 1 seed, they lose in the divisional round.
Yeah, and there's no collapse in the NBA regular season because the division just means nothing.
No, but the playoffs there is. Warriors went 73 and
No,
9
playoffs are different.
and lost
Playoffs are
3-1 and
Yeah.
we're up 3-1 and lost.
Mavericks lost to the Baron Davis Warriors.
Oh, we believe.
The last 5 years in South Florida during the playoffs, we have come dangerously close to what would have been sort of legacy eternal pain through generations. The Heat almost blowing, or actually they blew the 3-0 lead and then won the series against the Celtics, and the Panthers blowing a 3-0 lead against Edmonton. That is what I'm talking about beyond the regular season when I say you only remember a team's collapse. Like that, that Golden State team, I was saying all season, because of how they revolutionized the sport, that's the best basketball team I've ever seen. Hell, I could claim the undefeated Patriots collapsed at the end in a way that's memorable because I remember the failure more than I remember the success, even though their offense. Go look at Tom Brady's numbers as soon as he got Randy Moss and how everything changed statistically for him in terms of quarterback rating.
He had 50 touchdowns that year, right?
And he had, was it indeed 50? I thought it was 48. It was something absurd like that, but he had a quarterback rating like Tom Brady's quarterback rating for his career was like high 80s or low 90s, and that season it was about 130. Tony, look that up.
It was
for me.
117 was his QB. But he had 50 touchdowns, 8 picks, and threw for 4,800 yards, the highest of his career until 2011, where he threw for 5,200.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys something that I was thinking about football related as I saw the stat that Jordan Love, I don't know if you guys saw this. You want to take a guess? Jordan Love, average depth of target against Cleveland. Do you want to take a guess, anybody? Average depth of target.
They usually stretch the field pretty well there in Green Bay.
I saw it, and it's pathetic.
Really?
1.9 yards on average depth of target.
Told you that Jaden Reed injury is a big one. He was their go-to guy every time they needed to play. And Christian Watson's another guy that stretches the field. They have a lot of those guys that stretch the field over there. Golden, and in terms of
a lot of guys that aren't
separation,
great. That's the issue. They have a lot of B-plus players. They have no A players.
Well, that's why everybody thought that they were deep. But then you take Reed and Watson out of the equation, a lot less deep.
Like B+ is putting it nicely.
B+ is nice. I was B.
The thing that I wanted to ask you guys, though, is with the changes in football that are obvious and overt, have we basically eliminated the 400-yard passer? I know Russell Wilson had that game against Dallas, but unless you're trailing and just hurling the ball all over the place, have we become so restricted about the turnover that basically you're not going to get a 300-yard game, never mind a 400-yard game. You're not going to get a 300-yard game from your passer because everyone's being so conservative about turning the ball over unless you're just slinging it at the end of the game because you're down multiple touchdowns. Has this quietly gone away, right? Cam Newton's career opened with a 400-yard game. Is that going to be something that we even see anymore in that sport, given how they're playing football? And that stat I just gave you on Jordan Love, I could do it to a lot of quarterbacks. They're not throwing the ball down the field the way that they used to. They're not completing it when they do.
Yeah, I don't think it has as much. I understand that there is more of a premium on not turning the ball over. I think NFL defenses have gotten better and have adjusted to the new rules.
Oh, I feel hydrated from all this football talk.
Did somebody say hydration?
Oh, dude, talk to me.
The show is sponsored by Liquid IV. Don't let the grind drain you. Ditch the glitch with zero sugar and zero crash from Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first order with code Dan at checkout. That's 20% off your first order with code Dan at checkout at liquidiv.com. It's the energy that hits different, guys. It's the flavors. It's the energy. It's the convenience. You rip it. You pour it into the bottle, the cup, whatever. You mix it up. You drink it. You get great flavors. Blackberry lemonade, strawberry kiwi, and the energy packs, L-theanine, and what else?
Caffeine.
Get all that stuff at liquidiv.com with code Dan at checkout.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Brian Stelter is going to join us in a little bit to talk about Kimmel last night. He made his return, and while Kimmel does about $1 million a night on linear television, I don't know what he's done this morning as his monologue has made the rounds, but the last time I saw it was in the millions. It was approaching 4 million, and I'm sure a lot of people wanted to hear from him. And they did the unusual thing. It's something I haven't seen him do, and he's done more than 4,000 shows. He's been doing it for 23 years. They did the monologue, and then they just stayed with him standing up doing more monologue after they went to commercial break. Commercial break, such a quaint thing. That's not really what people are doing anymore when they watch this stuff. They're not pausing for a commercial anymore. You usually get everything you want, but he went twice as long as he would normally go, and we'll talk with Brian Stelter about that. He's written several books, and he's been on top of this story since it started. We'll do that in about an hour. And I'm going to get to Ben Simmons and Zion Williamson in a second.
NBA camps are opening up, Dan.
They are, and hockey is here as well, and it is, again, too much. There is too much sports going on. Something happened after the pandemic where I don't think it's my age. I think it's everything sped up, and now there's just more everywhere. The seasons are just as long. I don't understand my confusion with it seems like there's more, and I'm finding myself saying, no, there's too much that we have to pay attention to.
Yeah, you're married now.
Yeah, but I got married what is this? Like, I don't know, was it 5 years ago?
It's a
6
thing you
years
need to
ago?
remember.
Yeah, you got to remember that.
Feels like 8.
Let's work on that.
Years. Well, we started dating.
You said 5 years ago, 2020.
Yeah,
it's starting to check out. You know.
Yeah, we got married right before the pandemic. But
Ball and chain.
so I have it.
That's what people say about wives. That and something else. What is it? Says. You weren't listening. Cool.
Don't do it. It's a trap.
What do they love?
Thai food.
Weird space out.
Ball and chain, I didn't feel like I didn't feel like ball and chain was something we were still using.
I'm not gonna lie, I got scared when I said it. I was like, is this still a thing?
Yeah, he did look at you like
I know. I mean, Dan
this is an insult.
and
Is
Mike
it not?
was like, that's what you say.
It's
It made
just
me feel
jogging,
better.
just a bunch of husbands joshing each other, guy. We can all relax.
I'm more objecting to the idea of when a punishment. Let's think about this for a second, okay? When a punishment was to put a chain around someone's ankle that was a weighted ball and to refer to the person you love that way.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess it's a little mean, I guess, if you really get at the heart of it. But it's just jokes. It was really cute that it just dawned on you that it feels like there's more sports you can follow, and it ties directly to the time you got married.
It was the pandemic. I was blaming the pandemic. It turns out it was the ball and chain. Can you get me, by the way? I'd like the origins of when it is we started using that as a punishment and why it is we started using it as a punishment. And it is like beyond the was it the put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Was the ball and chain the ankle monitor before we had the technology for the ankle monitor?
Something happened to me 6 years ago where all of a sudden sports weren't on my main TV anymore, and instead there was Bluey. I'm gonna get to the bottom of it though.
The ball and chain was a device used to prevent escape. So that I don't feel good about this.
How weighty was the ball in the ball and chain? I remember here as I see that the New York Giants, that Brian Daboll is in full job save mode. He's going to Jackson Dart, and that's going to be rough for Jackson Dart because look at their schedule. They got the Saints in 2 weeks, but it's 2 Eagles games, a Denver game, and a Chargers game. Those are 4 or 5 defenses. That's deep water right off the bat. But I remember saying to you guys, when Russell Wilson signed with the Giants, that it made me sad. And you guys, what's so sad about it? What's sad? He's getting a bunch of money and he's getting an opportunity to turn the Giants around. And it's like, no, I mean, I couldn't have guessed this for Daniel Jones, but Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley were limited with the Giants because the Giants are so bad. Russell Wilson's career ending that way makes me sad. And he just came off a career high for passing yardage against Dallas, but he looked so bad in the last game, and now they're like, okay, let's wrap this up. You guys weren't made sad by that. He's a little young to be. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. Russell Wilson's not, and that looks spent because it can't survive with the Giants. Maybe if you put it in a good organization, you get something better than that.
He wasn't great last year, though. That's a good organization.
Well, wait a minute. What's a good? Well, last year, yes, that was a good organization. But with the Giants, he's.
It happened to him earlier, usually at 36, and Russell Wilson's a Hall of Famer. That's
I was just going to ask. I think he's played himself out of the Hall of Fame.
That's a hell of a take. In fact, I'm willing to listen to that. I'll dig through the numbers.
It's Stugotz's take, though. You're stealing Stugotz's take. He already took him out of the Hall of Fame and said,
Oh, really?
Years ago,
Yeah. When he was with Denver, he was saying that.
Yeah. He's 36 years old now. That's usually when it falls off. But I think Russell, you could argue, fell off at 33. That is young. Now, he's not your prototypical quarterback. There's things that he do at his size that he does at his size that I guess it would wear and tear on the body.
I mean, Mike, he's been a bad quarterback for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, that's tough.
I think that, and the only reason we'd be talking about him as a Hall of Famer is because he won the Super Bowl. All right, it's not like he was this monster every single year.
Made it to a second.
Right. But you're bad for your last 5 years as a starter, I don't know if you're a Hall of Famer.
According to Pro Football Reference, average QBs in the Hall of Fame classes ends up being 103.58. He's at 94. So it's like right there. If he has a couple more good games, obviously now that's over, maybe would have put him over the top.
Didn't make you guys sad though, seeing him benched? Like you're
Dan, he had the worst red zone thing I've ever seen. The 4 plays in the red zone to score a touchdown. He threw one into the tunnel.
Threw the ball away on 4th down.
Threw the ball into the goalpost on 4th down. At that point, I was like, it's over. There's no coming back from throwing the ball out of bounds on 4th down.
I think we all knew this day would be coming in relatively soon. So I don't know how sad. I think he's at a stage in his career where we knew that he had to play lights out to keep that job, to keep Jackson Dart out of that spot.
You guys have heard me say before, okay, that self-confidence is with athletes and how they don't know how to retire. And you've heard the Van Gundys say that superstar athletes are the hardest to coach. Aging superstars, the hardest to coach. But as it relates to Russell Wilson, you've heard me say self-confidence is the last thing to go and the mirror is the last thing to know. If I were to sit down right now with Russell Wilson and say, can you still play? Wouldn't he just say, hey, I threw for a career high in yardage on the road against Dallas. It was 2 weeks ago. Like, wouldn't he say, I don't deserve to be benched. I deserve to have some benefit of the doubt here because I just said the death of the 400-yard game, and I'm pointing to the one guy who had the 400-yard game and didn't actually have to do it because he was trailing the entire game, was slinging it the entire. If I talk to Russell Wilson about it now, do you think he'd say, yeah, I'm done, I'm spent?
No. And I think he's good enough to be a backup in the league. I think people kind of underrated the season that he had with Pittsburgh. When he aired it out, when they trusted him to, it wasn't in line with their identity, but he could still throw the ball downfield. I think he showed that against Dallas. What's so weird is that the line of demarcation is when he decided to leave Seattle. Like, that's when he stopped being good. His final season in Seattle was good. There were a lot of people in contention for his services.
And by the way, those last few years in Seattle, Pete Carroll seemed to not want to have anything to do with him anymore.
Well, that's not entirely true. It seemed like Pete Carroll was the only one in that organization who did want to have anything to do with him because everyone else in the organization thought he was the teacher's pet who ended up getting all of the money and wrecking their defense because he got all of the money. And we did that, Mr. Unlimited stuff where he did a lot to tarnish what was his public reputation over the – or I shouldn't even say his public that's too strong. He became less and less likable after winning that Super Bowl, just the way that people were absorbing him and the reports coming out about him where it seemed like the defense that helped win him a championship didn't really appreciate him as a leader anymore.
I don't think it was unlikable. I think it was more just like corny.
He's a bit of a tryhard.
It's like people made fun of him.
Okay, but that's all I meant. Okay, forgive me. Unlikable might also be too strong, but yes, he went from swaggering champion who was value at the position, who should be rooted for because he's undersized, who should be rooted for because his style of play was electric, it was unusual, who created a new model for winning in the sport. Make sure you get value at quarterback so you can pay everyone else in a salary cap sport to, oh, this is how it ends. Ooh, you lose your job to Jackson Dart on a failure of a season when the Giants aren't going anywhere this season. And I'm telling you, those 5 games, I'm going to say it again, just so that whatever assessments are made about Jackson Dart over the next 5 games, you ignore unless they're good assessments because he did it against good teams. Philadelphia twice, Denver, the Chargers. Like, if I don't throw the Browns in there, like those are the defenses you do not want a quarterback who does not yet know how to play professional football to play against those defenses.
I also want to crunch the numbers a little bit more to see this is a newer era of mobile quarterback and guys that, even though he was a better passer than runner, he was a timely runner and elusive when he did decide to run. Those guys' careers, they are getting a little cut short. I know Cam had off-the-field injuries that affected that too, but it makes me very curious to see how Josh Allen will age because he's so reliant on his physical gifts when he gets to a certain age, like around 33, what is that going to look like? I'm also curious to see how Patrick Mahomes' body ages. He doesn't seem to really take care of himself. He's leaning more now on his rushing ability, which is interesting.
Well, one of the things that I really genuinely discovered with Russell Wilson, because I will remind everyone here, hugely undersized for the position, usually that guy before Russell Wilson, not a success in the pros. It isn't just that his playing style was electric, and by calling him a timely runner, you're being unfair to him. He was wildly elusive, and this is the part that I hadn't seen before. Didn't get hit hard. Was not one of these guys who was, like, he'd get hit and he'd get tackled, but he had a way of knowing not to do what RG3 was doing, which is getting pulverized. Michael Penix is going to learn this very quickly. Like, you cannot run through secondaries the way those quarterbacks, even with all the new rules protecting them, Russell Wilson never seemed to get hit hard.
Hard to put a clean hit on him. Hard to put a clean hit on Lamar Jackson. In fact, he's the one that's dishing out the punishment. Hard to put a clean hit on Baker. There are guys that are just smart about how they do it. It was honestly the biggest thing that went sideways in RG3's career was his inability to not be able to get rocked every time he got hit. I've never seen a quarterback fly on contact the way that I saw RG3 do it.
Tua.
You say that he's thin, but Lamar Jackson, I mean, we've seen him thicken up, but he's been thin and he runs so much and he's got the similar skill set where nobody seems to be able to square him up, and it's an unusual thing to say. I wanted to point something out from yesterday as I talked about the Ravens defense that I had left out, because the Ravens have allowed as many points as the Dolphins have this year, and the Dolphins I believe to be a historically bad defense. Do you know how hard it is to allow as many points the Ravens have allowed in 3 games when one of your opponents was the Browns? That's really bad.
And they didn't score that much there. No, they've given a lot of points up to quality
I think the
opponents.
Browns scored more there. I think they scored 17, which is more than they've scored in any other game.
It was so funny watching the under the tunnel, the head coach and the GM of the Browns celebrating, and I just looked back and laughed of like they think they have a chance. Like, watching them celebrate was they're like, this is it. This is where we turn it. It's just
It's a huge win.
You're the Browns, though. It's just funny how excited they get.
It's a massive win.
They genuinely think that they have a chance this season. That's cute.
I mean, what was the survivor pool count on that game? 75% of the people had the Packers in that one. I mean, that is a huge win for their program. I am super locked in on this Chiefs-Ravens game.
I thought you meant the Browns.
No, not at all on the Browns. They lost me. Unless they draft a quarterback that goes to the U. Then I'm back. But I'm super into this Ravens-Chiefs game, and we'll get a little bit more into it in a second. But if you want tickets to that Chiefs-Ravens games, well, why don't you take the guesswork out of buying tickets and download the Game Time app today. It's awesome for the NFL. Panoramic seat views, all-in pricing. What you see is what you pay. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code Dan for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket, go.
It may be, Chris Cody, that the Browns management is deluding themselves into some sort of confidence that their season will have success, but I do believe that very often in that sport, because of how much it physically hurts, when you avoid 0-3 as the start of a season, it's just really hard to go into work after the first month of the season if you know right away that your season is over before it's gotten started.
I can sleep better now is essentially what they're celebrating.
And they know their defense is great. They feel like, okay, we just did this against a really good Packer team. Maybe there'll be a bunch of other games where we're within a score late as well.
How is Myles Garrett having the best season of his career?
There was a clip of him beating a tackle, and the tackle, we can't play it because it's a game footage, where the tackle is, as he gets by him, Jordan, run! It's hilarious. He's like, Jordan, run!
That has to happen sometimes, right?
Yeah.
We can't hear it because, we're watching on television, but if the tackle gets beat, you have to yell to your quarterback.
Blindside!
Love to be like, what the hell? I screwed up!
He's so fast and big!
The funny thing about what you guys are saying is that yelling can't be heard by Jordan because Jordan hears the crowd telling him because it's a game on the road.
But you still got to try if you're the tackle. You got to try to yell.
Jordan!
The crowd is watching. The crowd is hoping that Myles Garrett is. They are giving you an alert on what Myles Garrett is doing.
Myles had a great quote. He was asked about Micah Parsons. Man, I thought, he did it. found a way to get away and get his money.
The telephone number, if you want to be part of the boldest take shenanigans, sponsored by Boost Mobile, is 305-486-GOTS. 305-486-GOTS. 4689 is how you spell GOTS. And Roy, how are you feeling about this batch of boldest takes? Because I've been wanting the game elevated around here. You guys are easier to please about this stuff than I am. Somebody calls as Steve from Sex and the City, and you guys talk about it for 2 years. Let's see what we have here.
The Boost Mobile boldest take is presented by Boost Mobile, the newest 5G network in the country.
Just want to remind the show that the last time the University of Miami scored a touchdown in a conference championship game, I saw the movie Made in Manhattan at my local theater. The ticket cost $7.50.
Somebody check out Mike Ryan. The Browns won against the best team in the NFL, and the way they usually lose those games. Make sure he's okay.
I think that all kickers need to be drug tested. Just last year, announcers would tell us the kicker was maxing out at 55 yards before the game. But now kickers are booming 65-yarders in their sleep.
Can Chris Cody please stop mouthing every word that's on the video screen when he's on there? Thanks. I'll still listen and watch.
So this might be reckless speculation, but for the past couple of weeks, I keep hearing Mina and Foxworth talk about the fact that the Chargers defense is playing so aware, almost running the routes of the wide receivers. And are we to believe that that is a coincidence, given who their coach is and why he's no longer coaching Michigan?
Why are you giving me carrots and celery with my buffalo wings? I just ordered deep fried chicken smothered in sauce. Don't patronize me with your rabbit food.
My boldest take is that Mike actually won the soup competition 5-0, but because it was Greg's birthday, he got 2 sympathy votes.
A buddy of mine caught a football at an NFL game through a field goal, and the NFL made him give it back. So my hot take is, why are the two biggest leagues so stingy about their balls?
When the Colts play the Jaguars, we have to call it Indiana Jones and the Temple of Duval.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Why are you giving me carrots and celery with my chicken wings?
Because it's a delightful, cool relief.
Textural
I don't
delight.
eat- that's
You
rude.
get the hot with the cold.
I don't eat carrots.
I eat all of it. Give me extra of that stuff.
What about the ranch and the
Extra
blue
celery.
cheese? That's cool too.
Right, but I need it all. Give me a cold little celery with the ranch. You guys are nuts.
This is coming from a guy who orders a drink and sometimes, let me see today. Okay, today's drink. Sometimes doesn't get drank the entire day.
Wow.
So there's a lot of times where you'll probably order some wings and you'll eat like one bite of the celery, and that's
what
it.
was that? You coming from the guy who sometimes orders a drink and doesn't drink it? Like, what did you just like?
I
What
thought
was that?
Gruden was
attack?
coming. You talk about a guy.
Here's a guy.
You felt attacked there?
He doesn't finish his drink, man. Sometimes he orders it. He only drinks 3/4 of it, man.
He was doing Collins.
I was doing Collins. Here's a guy who orders a drink.
Here's a guy.
Put it on the poll as well at Le Batard Show. Should the NFL allow you to keep the football if it goes into the stands? Because I am with that caller. Let's go out to Jeremy, who is now. I saw him writing all over the board again. He erased everything.
We
that
have
he wrote.
more?
Well, yes. What more do we have on the Marlins? Again, the Marlins are playing meaningful baseball the last week of the season. It's a stunner. It deserves to be appreciated. They have, with discounts and efficiencies, they have built a team with farm system issues that they've had under Jeter, they have fixed some things with cheap players and have exploited some market inefficiencies the way that the Rays have done that. So what are we going out to here? Now you've got
Some
four
small writing. That's what we're going.
4
out to.
and 5 team permutations. What do we have here, Jeremy?
That's exactly right, Dan. So we talked about the 3-team tiebreakers and the 2-team tiebreakers, where head-to-head the Marlins would not get to the postseason if they're going up against the Cardinals or up against Arizona solo, or, of course, both of those teams together. But now things get interesting. If the Marlins are at 82-80 and tied with the Mets, Diamondbacks, and Reds in a 4-team tiebreaker by mere percentage points at a 579 win percentage ahead of the Marlins' 577 win percentage against all of those teams, the Reds would advance. But if it's a 4-team tiebreaker between the Marlins, Mets, Diamondbacks, and Cardinals, the Marlins, Mets, Reds, and Cardinals or the Marlins, Reds, Diamondbacks, and Cardinals, the Marlins would be the team to advance. So in 3 of the 4 scenarios in which there's a 4-team tiebreaker, they advance. And say all 5 teams end up at 82-80 with an overall head-to-head record of 18-14, the Miami Marlins would be the team to advance. So what we've laid out here is amongst all the different scenarios, the 4 head-to-head scenarios, the 6 different 3-team tiebreakers, the 4 4-team tiebreakers, and the 1 5-team tiebreaker. All those different scenarios, there are only 4 in which the Marlins would not advance as the wild card selection in the National League.
I stopped listening.
I totally didn't listen. Yeah, I do want to make a correction on the Ed Orgeron front. That stuff, the sexual assault stuff, was there when Les Miles was there. That's what it dates back to. Ed Orgeron was not named in that stuff, so I was trying to be responsible. I don't know what Jeremy was talking about.
Seems like we want the Cardinals involved, huh, Jeremy?
What you really want is the Mets involved. You really want the Mets involved.
Glad I'm following.
Every single scenario in which the Mets are involved in a 3-team, a head-to-head, or a 4-team tiebreaker, there was only one in which the Marlins would not advance.
Yeah, and the Cardinals
are not
the
Diamondbacks and the Reds. Yeah, that's right. The Cardinals are not involved in that one, but I erased it here. But the head-to-head against the Cardinals, the Marlins would not advance, and the head-to-head in which it's the Diamondbacks and the Cardinals in the 3-team tie, the Marlins would not advance either.
Now I get it.
Ultimately, you're looking for the Mets to be involved as much as possible, which means, really, in the next 2 nights, you're actually rooting for one Mets win. You really want them to split with the Chicago Cubs over the next couple nights before the Marlins ultimately sweep them over the weekend.
I have a question for Jeremy. Yeah. So I wasn't really. He was doing a service, and I'm glad he was doing that stuff. It lost me.
Who does Central have this week?
I've got a baseball question for you. This is twice this week that I've wanted to talk baseball, and it makes sense that it's both guys that played while I was watching baseball. Is Mike Trout going to be remembered as the most talented loser ever? I know historically we have that conversation about Ernie Banks because Ernie Banks famously never made the playoffs. However, I ran the numbers, and if Ernie Banks played with the same kind of playoff expansion rules that Mike Trout did, Ernie Banks would have made the playoffs 3 times at least, whereas Mike Trout only made the playoffs once and lost out in the ALDS.
Are you doing just baseball? Because Myles Garrett's going to nominate.
Myles Garrett has been to the playoffs. Myles Garrett beat a Pittsburgh Steelers team on the road that at one point was 11-0 that season. I know that because I was going through NFL teams that fell on their face and collapsed.
But are you doing just baseball? Because
Myles Garrett also made it to the playoffs with Joe Flacco and lost to C.J. Stroud, who was having probably his last hurrah in terms of being an exciting player.
It's really hard to be an all-time great player and just never do anything in the playoffs.
But the question is for Jeremy, because I know he's dialed in on hardball. This Mike Trout thing, it's going to become his legacy. Whereas before, his legacy was this guy is the most complete baseball player we've probably ever seen. He has the perfect elements of new school and old school.
Well, part of it being his legacy is that he doesn't seem to care. Now he probably does, but he doesn't give off that it's like, man, I want to go somewhere and win. I think that's part of it, right?
I think ultimately with Mike Trout, it'll be more of a Mickey Mantle scenario of the what if he was healthy for his entire career. There's a little bit of that with Ken Griffey Jr. despite having all of the counting stats that he has. The thing with Trout is really it's tough for an individual position player to put that on them. If he got to the postseason and he struggled, he could be an all-time loser. If he was an individual pitcher who would not come up clutch in the final moments of a season, you could argue the same thing. But when you have a team, they had a team that was built around him and Albert Pujols who didn't perform to what they wanted that contract to be. Same deal with Anthony Rendon that really handicapped their ability to put a good team around him. When you're one individual player, it's really difficult to overcome organizational shortcomings. And so, yes, you're right. Ultimately, he's not going to have a postseason career that's worth anything or memorable unless maybe at the end of his career he ends up in the right place. But it'll be more of a Mickey Mantle type of thing in my view.
One time he did make it to the playoffs in the series he got eliminated and he went 1 for 12. And you're applying helpful context, but it's context that is relatively absent from the Ernie Banks discussion. Maybe that's because of all the time that passed. But, I laid it out for you. Ernie Banks played in a time where it's just pennant winners that met up in the World Series and got into the playoffs. This is really embarrassing, and you lay it out. He played with Pujols. He played with Shohei Ohtani. Maybe this is more of an organizational conversation that we need to have about the Angels because they're presently in last place in the ALS, and that is a hugely disappointing franchise, just when you especially consider the money and resources they provided that team. But, man, is it disappointing for one of the guys that was labeled as perhaps the greatest baseball player we've ever seen.
Give me some assistance here because Anthony Rendon is a champion. Anthony Rendon, when they won the World Series, was great for that baseball team. Only thing I think about when I think of the name Anthony Rendon is bad money spent. Give me the people in sports that do that for you, obviously Deshaun Watson is going to be that, but a person...
You mean franchises?
I'm talking about somebody who was great, got the money, deserved to get the money, deserved to get it, because Rendon's contract, that was more than $200 million, right? Giancarlo Stanton sort of shook the sport, and then everyone started getting that kind of money. All of a sudden, Jason Worth was getting that kind of money, but Rendon is somebody I now just associate with bad money spent. When you arrive at the position that Anthony Rendon is in, you're top 1% of the top 1% of people competing for money in sports. You've arrived at the very top level, guaranteed hundreds of millions for how good you are at a sport. But when I hear that name, the place I go immediately is bad money. So top it for me. When I say nominate some people that and they've got to be someone whose excellence was earned, not somebody who just got a contract out of the draft or something. Somebody who professionally in pro sports earned the money,
made it to multiple contracts. Ben Simmons.
That's the one I was going to say. It's Ben Simmons.
Yeah, but Ben Simmons wasn't really successful in the pros, was he? In fact,
Ben's first few years.
Well, wait a minute. Ben Simmons, I'm pretty sure Ben Simmons didn't even make the NIT as the number 1 pick in college basketball. Or if he made the NIT, they didn't. No, I don't think he made the NIT when they were at LSU.
I think they opted out of postseason play. But Ben Simmons got a 5-year, $177 million
He was a good player.
He found a way to get that contract without shooting the ball.
He's not even pretending anymore to give us these workouts on video that suggest that he is making a comeback and is working hard to come back. We now have all of his social media activity. Is he trolling when he's just gone fishing? Like, is he trolling when he's just showing us these big fish that he is catching instead of giving us workout videos?
It's quite the direction, This time of year, we used to get the workout videos where they would carefully edit him making jump shots, making three-pointers. Oh, Ben Simmons, he's coming for your ass this year.
I mean, we made fun of those too. So
yeah, for sure.
If I'm him, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go
See,
fishing.
When it comes to Ben Simmons, that's a different category for me, even though it is, of course, bad money spent. For me, he occupies the space that I cannot assign to many athletes ever, which is just short-circuited mentally. Like, that is not something. The Sixers somehow had 2 of those guys, and Markelle Fultz and him, like where you're dealing with a mental short-circuiting, so I go somewhere else when I do word association with Ben Simmons.
I feel like 3 weeks ago we would have put Daniel Jones in this conversation.
On money?
I mean, that was a bad contract he got with the Giants.
If you look at the bad contracts in the NBA,
Tua.
Like you have guys. Most of the bad contracts that get highlighted are guys that ended up having injuries, physical injuries. Ben Simmons is the first person that had something go wrong with him that was intangible. It was between the ears with him. But it's not like even before he started citing those issues, he wasn't an extremely flawed player.
Can I get some video or photograph of how Zion Williamson looks now, speaking of basketball returning and the offseason? Because I believe that at this point still, Zion Williamson, who represents, I'm going to say, let me see if I have this right. Who am I missing when I say, in terms of basketball physical freak, the biggest physical freak since Shaq, physical freak novelty since Shaq, coming out of college and just stronger than everyone else in the post in a way that can't be stopped without a double team.
I was going to say Wembanyama until you said strong.
Yeah, well, yes, right. Wembanyama is good and also a physical freak.
Giannis grew into his body a little bit, but he was thin when he got into the league.
Yeah, what makes Zion Williamson so interesting, because at his size, he's only 6'6". It's his weight and his explosiveness that didn't make any sense, but he's not this imposing. He doesn't have this imposing stature. Now he is filled out for his size, and he has a really strange body type, but it's not like you see this guy. I think what the novelty about him was like, how is this guy so powerful?
Well, he looks
so
fit.
explosive.
He looks fit here, and I wonder if he loses any strength because those arms used to be thighs, and those arms are no longer thighs.
Oh, you're doing the thing. I feel like the internet's gonna do too skinny.
Well, no, I'm
too much weight loss.
No, I'm not. I will not weight shame anyone except you. There is no one else that I am weight shaming, and myself. That's correct. But let's see some video here of Zion, and you tell me what you guys' thoughts here, because he looks different, a good deal different, and
good.
He does look good, but he is undersized, and so I do wonder if he can be as strong, given that. In the history of that sport, the only person that I can actually think of like him is Charles Barkley, where led the league in rebounding, at least in part because his ass is where normal shoulders are on someone. When I stand next to Charles Barkley, he's not a lot taller than I am. He isn't.
He's 6'4", Barkley, I think.
But his ass is where my shoulders are. It's a really
high ass.
Yeah, he's got a high ass.
No,
Yeah.
that's
his ass is 6 feet off the ground.
He's got that high ass?
Yeah. Do you have low shoulders?
No, I do not. That is why he led the league in rebounding at 6'4.5" or 6'5". But let me see some video on Zion here, because they could do some optical illusions with AI. I've seen Zion, people do some photoshopping with Zion that fools me. Let me see some video here and see what we've got.
We came up with a plan, and from boxing to working out on the football field a lot, to just different random workouts. And during that time frame last year, I really felt a shift in my body to where I would look at him and go, dude, it feels good to feel good. I haven't felt like this since college, high school, just where I can walk in the gym and I'm like, I feel good.
It's great. His 7th year in the league. He's finally a professional.
Finally feels good.
What do we think about that goatee?
Yeah, that's...
I dig it.
Question.
I dig it. Where are we with it? Like on the disgruntled superstar progression, like how is he still a Pelican? Aren't we supposed to be moving it along here like 3 years ago?
Oh, but I think his trade value is such that people are a little bit scared of trading for him. And when Zaz says 7th year in the league, I do believe that we've gotten a little too accustomed of guys coming out of high school and freshmen in college, where you say 7 years in the league, but once upon a time, this player, if he were Tim Duncan, would have stayed 3 of those years in college and would now be in his 3rd or 4th year in the league, because you cannot give a 19-year-old NBA intoxicants and expect all of the 19-year-olds not to succumb to whatever the NBA intoxicants
I do
are.
think, though, the general expectation is for them to adhere to a certain level of professionalism. And the injuries are one thing. His approach to the game, I mean, obviously Stephen A. Smith is very vocal about it, but I mean, he's called him fat multiple occasions. But also, let's not forget, there's off-court stuff with Zion Williamson that scares a lot of teams away. This dude just around league circles is not considered a pro.
It is very easy in our position to tell others how to be professional. And yes, that is the standard. If you are being paid millions and millions of dollars to play a game, you should aspire to professionalism. But I do think that it should at least register with some people that not every person who's coming into those millions and millions of dollars is equipped to be an adult, never mind a professional. I've talked to enough athletes who get to the pros and they're just stuffing their clothes, dirty clothes in the closet for months. Or Ron Artest has dog all over his house because whenever he has to go on the road and stuff, he doesn't do the things that are necessary to just keep his home in order. I understand everyone listening to this is going to say, be a pro, be an adult, but you're gonna have some casualties there when you go from the transition of abject poverty and just trying to survive to try and get to a place where you're the professional that everyone else expects you to be. Before we get to Brian Stelter to talk about Jimmy Kimmel, these are obviously really turbulent times all over America, and there is danger and chaos and violence everywhere. Mike, what is the breaking news now on what's happening with ICE and the state militia that we are weaponizing?
Well, details are still going in, and we want to be responsible because I saw Chrissy Noem and J.D. Vance also went to Twitter probably a little too soon to send out a certain message. But there was a shooting at a Dallas ICE facility. 2 detainees at this facility are dead. 1 is injured. The suspect is dead. Still coming over the news cycle, but according to social media, these shots were fired from a nearby rooftop.
There are things being weaponized and political conversations immediately happening after violence and death because the content mill is something that is fed too quickly before we even have a chance to process, never mind getting to mourning. But with Jeffrey Epstein and with Jimmy Kimmel, we have found at least 2 issues where it seems like most Americans are pretty close to united. And in the case of Kimmel, this feels like a situation where public outcry made Disney do something that Disney didn't want to do. So Brian Stelter is the former media correspondent for the New York Times and Vanity Fair. He's got 3 best-selling books, Top of the Morning, Hoax, and Network of Lies, and he's the current CNN media analyst. Brian, in your reporting, what is it that has happened over the last 4 days? Was it simply that everyone started canceling Hulu and Disney subscriptions?
It's more complicated, but I do believe people dropping those subscriptions did make a difference. Let's start from the premise that Disney always wanted to bring Kimmel back on the show. It's not as if the executives who run Disney, like Bob Iger, the CEO, and his deputy Dana Walden, it's not like they're secret Trumpers who are big fans of MAGA media and want to turn ABC into Fox News. That is far from the case. All right, Bob Iger donates to Democrats. He thought about running for president against Trump. Dana Walden is known for being best buds with Kamala Harris. These executives not only love Jimmy Kimmel personally, they are also politically in, I would say, some sort of sync with Jimmy Kimmel. But they looked around, they react very quickly to pressure last week. And that's what they did, right? They reacted by pulling the show, and they wanted to find a path forward. It took them a few days, and I think the audience pressure, Dan, the consumer pressure, it did make a big difference, but they always wanted to bring the show back anyway.
You're sure about that? Because the original reporting I saw on that, it seemed like people were saying that indefinite was likely to become he wasn't coming back. You're sure about that?
Well, look, I was skeptical. I thought it was unlikely his show was going to be back on broadcast TV because I was thinking to myself, these station owners were not going to let it go back. They were too fearful of the Trump administration. They were too concerned about pressure from Trump and Brendan Carr. I think it is important. There was this groundswell of public concern, all these free speech groups, all these First Amendment experts, all of these random ordinary consumers, right? All these protesters outside Disneyland. It's never a good look for Disney when you have free speech protesters outside Disneyland. So, yeah, I think this story was unique in some ways amid all the other Trump controversies because it did create so much outrage and backlash. And yes, I do think that made a difference. We don't know for sure, right, what Disney was thinking. We don't know what the bottom line impact of the cancellations were. But I think what we do know for sure is that these executives love Jimmy Kimmel. They wanted the show to be back. And they decided by Monday the temperature had cooled down enough that they could do it. They could bring him back. And now, here's the thing, right? Kimmel's more powerful than ever because he's been explicitly approved and backed up by ABC.
Nexstar Media and Sinclair, though, are still in a position as affiliate owners where Kimmel isn't airing everywhere. Can you please tell me what the consequences and what the cost of that is and if that's going to change?
Normally, we would say Nexstar and Sinclair total, they represent about 20% of the markets across the U.S. where Kimmel's show airs. So normally we would say, wow, 20% of the viewers can't watch Kimmel. That's going to mean a ratings hit. That's going to mean the ratings are going to drop. That's going to be a big, big, bad problem for ABC. But not in this case, right? Because more than 20% of an additional audience poured in last night. I can say that without even seeing the ratings yet. Clearly, there's so much interest in this story that Kimmel and ABC are benefiting from a surge of viewer interest. So yes, in Seattle and Washington and in some smaller markets, people were not able to watch the show at 11:35. But those viewers are just going to work a little harder. They're going to go to YouTube or Hulu or Disney Plus. They're going to watch the monologue this morning. And you know that monologue is getting millions of views per hour on YouTube right now. It is already, by 8 a.m. Eastern, it was already Kimmel's most watched YouTube video of the year. Not surprisingly. You know, everybody wanted to hear what he was going to say. So Nexstar and Sinclair, they don't hold a lot of cards right now. They can continue to protest Kimmel's show, but ABC has contracts with these companies, and they're going to probably start to enforce those contracts.
Here is some of what it is that Kimmel said last night. He was emotional when talking during his monologue, an unusual monologue that was probably twice as long as it usually is. Let's play some of that sound for Brian and get his reaction.
Yes.
It was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't. Ever.
Brian, what were your thoughts on his monologue last night?
Number one, he's trying to say, I, Jimmy Kimmel, am not anti-Republican. I am not against you, conservative America. He is clearly against President Trump, but he was almost trying to split off Trump and Trump's aberrant behavior from the rest of the party and the rest of the movement. You know, he was offering condolences to Erica Kirk. He was complimenting and praising Erica Kirk's speech over the weekend, her tribute to her late husband. He was trying to offer a little bit of a bridge or an on-ramp to conservatives, while at the same time making clear he's going to continue to satirize Donald Trump. He's going to continue to speak out against the administration. So I think he said exactly what ABC wanted him to say. You know, ABC wanted him to acknowledge the controversy, wanted him to try to extend maybe an olive branch of some sort. And Kimmel did just that. And I think it was genuine. It seemed genuine to me.
Oh, but when you say he said exactly what Disney wanted him to say, I disagree. When he went into his pocket and said, I have only one condition on my return that Disney has forced on me,
right.
and he just said, here's how you stop canceling your Hulu subscription.
That's a good joke.
Yes.
That's funny.
Yes. I don't, what do you think that Disney's relationship is with Jimmy today that it wasn't a week ago?
That's probably the most interesting question. Well, number one, his contract is coming due in May. So this may not be a long-term relationship. I have no reason to believe ABC wants to drop the show in May. I have no reason to believe Kimmel wants to leave. Yes, he's made noise about retiring, but you know, lots of stars do that in advance of contract talks. It is possible. I think we could imagine a world where next spring, Kimmel's show moves off broadcast. Maybe it's just going to go to streaming. Maybe it's going to become a pure subscription play. And maybe that's actually in the best interest of everybody involved. If the government is going to continue to wield its power to punish private companies, ABC might decide it is better to put the show onto streaming. But I think that was the decision they would make with Jimmy and not for Jimmy. You know what I mean? That would be a conversation. And that's a sad reflection of our times. If companies are going to feel they have to take that kind of action because of the Trump administration.
Brian, through your reporting, what do you know about the dialogue from between Disney and Jimmy about exactly what he was going to say, what hard lines Jimmy had, what was the initial ask? And I'm sure what we saw on television last night was basically both sides kind of giving in a little bit to what they believed.
Yeah, nobody's really leaking, which is unusual in these situations. Usually when there's a late night drama, we hear some pretty spicy information from sources. In this case, I think everybody is trying to play it cool. It was not in Kimmel's interest to go out there trying to burn ABC down, trying to leak against ABC. His camp, so to speak, has not been out there trying to push certain narratives. As far as I can tell, certainly my phone's not ringing, neither are other media reporters. So it is telling that this has not exploded, with background quotes and anonymous jabs back and forth. It is interesting, though, that ABC's statement, when they announced he was coming back, they referred to thoughtful conversations with Jimmy. And I think that's a euphemism for some pretty strong language that was used back and forth, right? Kimmel was clear on the air last night. He did not agree with ABC's decision to suspend the show. He did not want to be sidelined. So I imagine there were expletives at first, right? I imagine this was pretty heated at first. And then as the days went by, they were able to reach a compromise and find common ground. But look, that's notable, right? Sometimes these late night stories, they erupt. So think about Conan O'Brien and Jay Leno. Sometimes this stuff does get aired in public, and this time it hasn't. Maybe that's number one. These two camps really do like each other. But number two, Kimmel knows his power right now, doesn't he? He has this free speech platform, and he's making it about so much more than himself. He's telling his viewers, if they come for Jimmy Fallon next, you better speak out 10 times as loudly. He's telling his viewers, Trump's trying to destroy American journalism. He pointed to the Pentagon implementing new restrictions on journalists at the Pentagon. He is using his platform to make this about so much more than one late night show. You know what I mean?
Do you have a lot of examples of anything that looks like Jimmy Kimmel's career from the Man Show to this, where he has turned the monologue, like he's consistently doing healthcare monologues, like he has done politics in a way that Fallon can't do politics?
I agree with you. And I went looking through his YouTube views this morning, trying to get a sense of what viewers want, right? At least online, on streaming. What do viewers want out of Kimmel? And what I found was very clear. The most popular clips, the most shared clips, they are not his celebrity interviews. They are not his sketches. They are not his absurd segments. They are his anti-Trump commentaries. They are his political monologues. That is what people come to look for now from Jimmy Kimmel. So when we hear conservatives bemoan Kimmel and say he's not funny and say he should be canceled and all that stuff that's out there, that's all across Fox News, it's not true in terms of what the audience that Kimmel has wants. Kimmel's audience wants him to take on Donald Trump. Kimmel's audience wants him to point out the Trump administration's conduct, in some cases misconduct. So, it is amazing to go from the Man Show to where Kimmel is now, but he seems perfectly positioned to do it, at least between now and May.
If you had to guess, would Jimmy Kimmel, instead of doing what he has done, which is be a polite and good Disney employee throughout, if not in protection of the paychecks for his staff, does Jimmy Kimmel quit, become a martyr, and just get on with his life? Because it's better for Colbert right now at this point, and for him to be on their own the way Conan O'Brien is, instead of being working in the mainstream, threatened mainstream media.
I suppose there's a world where he does see benefits to being free from some parent company. But working for Disney also conveys a lot of benefits, including the fact that he was on almost 200 stations last night, even though a few dozen of them refused to air the show. Working for Disney does bring him some even more high-profile visibility. There are some benefits to his platform, as well as certainly some drawbacks. And I think now we're in this moment where, Kimmel is a cause. Right? For better or worse, whatever you think of it, Kimmel's a cause. What he went through and the public pressure from the administration is part of the cause. If anything, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, Dan. Maybe this weds him more to ABC and Disney in the short term, at least.
Probably gets free theme park tickets.
Oh, yeah, he does. Those are the best.
Have you done more reporting on Colbert and gotten to the bottom more of what it is that happened there? Because they avoided this by making it, quote unquote, a strictly financial decision when I don't believe it was a strictly financial decision. I don't think you do either.
The way I like to think about Colbert, the way I frame it is, if Kamala Harris were president, Colbert's show would still be on the air. It wouldn't be facing this May cancellation. That's the way I think about it. Yes, the financial story is real. Yes, the show, was losing money, depending on how you do the math, and there's lots of ways to do TV math. But the bottom line is that in a Harris administration, this would not be happening. That being said, Colbert is no slouch, right? Colbert is using every day he has left on CBS to speak out. And at some point, CBS is going to have to put on a new show. They're going to have to do something at 11:35. What are they going to do? Here's what I keep thinking about this week. The approval ratings for Trump are very clear. Pretty much every poll has him around 40% approval. This is a country where 6 in 10 Americans disapprove of the president. They certainly don't want their own free speech rights impaired. So if you are a major media company, if you are thinking about consumer demand and consumer attention, aren't you gonna try to appeal to the 6 out of 10? Just from a pure cynical, I'm not talking about newsrooms now, okay? I'm not talking about journalists. I'm talking about major media company CEOs, the ones who have been caving, the ones who have been bending the knee. If they keep doing that, isn't that going to create even more market demand for alternatives? Isn't that going to create even more opportunity for other companies to appeal to the 6 and 10? Do you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this business stuff is interesting to me, and I just wonder if any of this is actually going to go away, or if Trump and the FCC just learned, next time, let's not make the threat and do it that way. Let's not do it out in public so that the public, let's do it quieter, let's cloud it, let's confuse it, let's not do it brazenly and honestly drunk on arrogance.
That is exactly what my gut says. I've been covering Brendan Carr all year. I've been texting with him all year. I've seen him write letter after letter, make statement after statement where he pressures these media companies in more thoughtful, nuanced, legalistic ways. It's clear that Carr hears Trump's threats. He hears Carr hears what the president wants from Truth Social and presumably from private conversations. And then Carr tries to translate that in a legal, regulatory way. Last week, Carr went a big step further, right? And as Ted Cruz said, Carr sounded more like a mob boss. I don't know if Carr is going to make that mistake again. I don't know if he thinks it was a mistake, but a lot of people think it was a mistake. I don't know if Carr will go that way again. It seems to me he'll be more careful next time.
He wasn't careful with you, right? You're the one that he tweeted the Office gif to celebrate that Kimmel had been taken off of the air, right?
Yes, he sent me the Michael Scott, whatever this is called, thing.
Raise the roof.
Raising the roof, yeah.
Yeah, raising the roof, yes. He sent me that gif. He did that in the heat of the moment, and then he didn't send any gifs again. He hasn't sent me any memes in the week since. I think there's probably a part of him, because he's a savvy guy. He knows how this world works. He knows the limits of the FCC's power. He knows that his bully pulpit is one of the most powerful tools he has. I suspect that he is thinking about how to use his bully pulpit in ways that will not draw so much backlash next time.
But do you sense that he's chastened at all? Because this was a really public hit that he took. I don't believe that most people before this knew who the FCC chairman was. And it's his arrogance that we now know. And sending a reporter that shows a general tone deafness that you didn't think America was going to turn on you this way, because the public outcry on this one has been something to see the people move this way, move something as powerful as Disney and moved a weaponized federal institution has been something not only emboldening, inspiring, because I was worried that that's not the America we lived in anymore.
I've got to play devil's advocate with you, though, and point out that I think some MAGA media influencers loved seeing what Carr did last week. I think some Trump voters loved seeing him use his power in a clenched fist against those liberal elites in the media. For every reaction, there's a counter reaction. So Carr's pressure caused this dramatic counter reaction, these Disney Plus cancellations, this free speech movement. What I wonder now is, what do Trump loyalists do next, right? Trump pressured ABC again overnight, threatened action against ABC, kind of hinted at a new lawsuit I doubt he'll file it, but maybe he will. He sued the New York Times last week and got thrown out, but he might try again. So, Trump's going to continue to try this pressure campaign. That's what Kimmel said last night. He said, Trump's not stopping. And many Trump voters still want to see this happen. They want revenge. They want retribution. They want to punish their perceived enemies. So I want to recognize, for all that's happened in the past week, there's also this energy out there to try to stick it to Jimmy Kimmel, right? To try to get him canceled. And that's not going away either, right, Dan? In other words, this tug of war is still it's still ongoing.
Best guess on what's next beyond what you just said. What do you think's going to happen next?
I think every time a major media company appears to be caving, a new Substack is born. A new podcast is born. A new YouTube stream is born. Right now, Kimmel's racking up millions of views for his ABC monologue. But if this goes south, if Disney comes under more government pressure, if the DOJ starts blocking Disney's deals, if Kimmel's show ends next May, he'll probably be bigger than ever on podcasts.
Brian, is there any way that these media companies can fight fire with fire? Can they countersue when they receive any frivolous lawsuits that Trump might file?
Yes, in some cases they can. And some First Amendment scholars wish ABC had gone that route last week. They wish ABC had gone to court. I think the reason that didn't happen was because this happened so quickly. Like literally from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday afternoon, all of this went down, all of this erupted. And ABC did what was maybe what they believed was smartest in the moment. If this had happened with a little bit more time, less time constraints, fewer time pressures, that legal route may have been the one. And, it's important to keep an eye on the courts here because the New York Times throwing out Trump's defamation suit last week. Sorry, not New York Times. A Florida judge throwing out Trump's suit against the New York Times last week is an example of how the courts are the ultimate backstop here.
You've covered the media for a long time. Give me the closest thing you've seen to something that looks or feels like any of this.
I don't want to sound hyperbolic because America is a whole hell of a lot bigger and stronger than an Eastern European landlocked country like Hungary. We're very different than Hungary. President Trump is different than Viktor Orban in some ways, but the parallels between the U.S. and Hungary are really striking right now. Orban's control of the media, his consolidation of power, his attempts to weaken public broadcasting and break the backs of independent media and privatize media companies with the control of the state. All of that is very eerily similar to what Trump is attempting and to some of what's happened in the past 9 months. I've talked to former Hungarian members of parliament and other experts who have studied Hungary's democratic backsliding and more authoritarian moves. They say that what they're seeing in the U.S. is very similar. So, if you want to nerd out this weekend, go read about Hungary, read about the model there, the autocratic carrots and sticks, because I think that's what we're seeing here in some ways.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Did you think that you were going to hear someone say on today's show, I've talked to members of Hungarian parliament? What do you think was the most interesting thing from the last week?
Ooh, spicy. Most interesting thing about the past week. I think the most interesting thing about the past week is that, can you answer first? I'm going to try to stall for time.
The reason, okay, I'll allow you to filibuster, but when
that Eagles comeback.
I wasn't talking. No, wait a minute. I'm asking him about the Kimmel situation. I'm not asking.
This isn't Jake Tapper.
But Marlins winning 7 in a row.
Right, Brian?
Come on, those Marlins.
I'm asking him as it relates to this situation because I believe in your media career, you will have never covered anything like this. When you're mentioning Hungarian parliament, you're talking about these things that are so macro, but a talk show host created a frenzy in this country.
I think I know what it is. Every day there's a new scandal. Every day there's a new Trump controversy. Every day he's trying to use his power in ways that are unseen and unprecedented. And different CNN beat reporters cover this in different ways every day. One day it's some obscure federal agency. The next day it's Harvard. One day it's the Smithsonian. The next day it's some private company you've never heard of. Every day we're seeing this happen. But the Kimmel story broke through unlike most of those controversies. Like the Kimmel story has resonated. I can feel it in the TV ratings. I can feel it in the protests that we've covered in New York and LA. We can feel it. I think all of us. That's why we're here talking about it right now. I think the big surprise, maybe it's not, shouldn't be surprising. The big statement here is that there is an interest in the American public, that people are paying attention. These stories can break through. Maybe the point, Dan, is Americans are not numb to it all yet.
Thank you, Brian. Excellent. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the work, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, y'all. Go Birds.
So you mentioned the Eagles, and I did want to talk for a second about a couple of the bad gambling beats this weekend. One of them was the Eagles. If you had the Rams +3 or +3.5.
That's kick a hole in the TV.
Oh, my God. If you're sitting there kicking for the game, and the only thing that beats you is the unprecedented act of a 340-pound guy, not just blocking the kick, but having the athleticism to then grab the ball and, instead of just taking a knee and ending the football game, doing the dangerous thing of running down the field with your money.
Well, I think, and when you see the guy who picks up the football, all right, it's a disaster right now, but okay, somebody's going to catch that guy. He's really fat.
Nope. You're missing
19 miles an hour.
You're missing the S from the word you tried to say. He's really fat. He's really fast is what he was. That was a bad beat, but I'm going to go back for a second, and it was the worst. I don't think there was a worse one this weekend. If you had the Rams +3, Rams on the money line, Rams +3.5, because they were winning the whole game.
Auburn was bad.
Well, that's the one I want to get to. So listen to this. So I'm going to set it up for you if you were not watching the Auburn-Oklahoma game, okay? Oklahoma is favored by 6.5. They score a touchdown to go up 5, go for the 2-point conversion, and miss the 2-point conversion on a wide open pass because it appears their quarterback's hand was broken at some point during the game. So he throws a bad pass at the end of the game. It would have been an easy completion, wide open in the end zone. You would have been up by 7 instead of 5. You would have covered if you had Oklahoma. But now you're down 5.5. And it's not just that Auburn has the ball. Auburn has the ball at the 30-yard line. You're not thinking safety there. Like, you're thinking, in any case, interception return for a touchdown, fumble return for a touchdown, but they start getting penalties, and you're like, oh, my God. If you have Auburn +6.5 with the ball, and the game is 5 points, I know people don't like math here. What you are not expecting is a safety when you're on the 30-yard line. But in this game, you had to be expecting a safety because all Oklahoma was doing was getting more sacks than they had at any game Oklahoma's ever played. Do you know how many football games Oklahoma has played?
Not just that, the benefit of the whistle. Because the SEC's come out and said that a touchdown that they scored shouldn't have stood anyways because they tried some hijinks, some dark arts, fake a sub. By the way, I was on Auburn and the Rams.
I know. You mentioned earlier.
I was on Oklahoma -6.5.
You don't deserve to win that. You shouldn't be breakdancing back there. Mike had those in parlays as well that got crushed.
SGP with Kyron Williams, anytime touchdown, Puka Nacua over 6.5 catches. And to close it, everything else was Rams +3.5.
So when Zaslow says it's kick a hole in your television time, just take me into your face, Mike, as it's not just that Auburn gets a safety there and it becomes a 7-point loss. It's that whoever was rushing the quarterback there, he's a university. He could have been at the University of Miami, but he runs over the right tackle, just steamrolls the right tackle. And the reason Auburn's quarterback was not expecting that is at least in part because there's a human being on right tackle who's 300 pounds that he was not expecting to just get bowled over that way. And then he's engulfed in the end zone and you lose your bet.
I laugh. There was the great Al Pacino that said in the iconic film Two for the Money, you never feel more alive than when they're pulling the chips away. Yeah, I love those things.
Great movie.
I'd rather there is.
I want to be John Anthony.
There's a strange part of me
that was good.
Would rather lose those bets than win them. just because it's a great war story. But everything kind of just pales in comparison. Cameron Dicker missing the kick against Jacksonville. And come to find out now he's just nailing big kick after big kick and is one of the most accurate kickers ever. And it's just, it's weird.
He's the most accurate kicker in history, 94% for his career.
I love how in Two for the Money, McConaughey's process is just, I'm going to walk into my office and I'm going to look at this sheet with the lines on it. And I'm going to circle one side.
No. What if that doesn't do it for him? Then he has to take off his shirt, oil up, and lift some weight. That's when he's, I'm in a
And then
rough
he walks
stretch
out,
here.
and the whole room is just wants this paper because they're going to sell the out of this paper.
He promised Armand Asante a 13-0 weekend.
You guys have heard me say over the years that I feel like quarterback measurements that we in the media are pretty bad at it. I feel like we're pretty bad at the kicker measurements too. Do any of you or did any of you have any inkling that Younghoe Koo was going to lose his job this season? Is that something that you guys knew was coming? I thought of that guy as wildly consistent. And also when he missed a kick earlier this season, I was surprised by it. He missed a game-winning kick. Did you guys have an inkling that Younghoe Koo was about to lose his job in Atlanta?
You would have thought that he would have had more of a runway to mess up, but they didn't.
He's missed a lot of kicks, Mike. The last couple years, he's missed a lot of kicks, and it's like, oh yeah, he's good, but yeah, he shouldn't have missed that 42-yarder when the game is in hand. It was weird, and I felt like it was kind of coming.
Zaslow, did you have any opinions on Younghoe Koo? I didn't think
that's strong. My bad. I'm very strong on Younghoe Koo.
I just didn't think that here we
you're
go
pretty
from
dialed in. I was surprised.
Dialed in on the Falcons, as you know. I had to stand outside with the clown nose.
Hungarian Parliament to Younghoe Koo.
I think that when you name part of the stadium Kooville, it's a little bit of a surprise that they cut the cord on him.
Not the Koo I thought we'd be talking about off of that Kimmel story. Let's talk useless sound here, shall we? Let's do some useless sound montage here where we go throughout the sport and get 2 minutes, 2-minute Mayfield of just useless sound.
Man, it's great to win in the National Football League.
Great to play at home in front of our fans. They're unique, and we love them.
Good win to get, in particular, when you haven't had one.
I'll always remember this win.
And we don't need to learn a football game to know that turnovers are very hard to overcome.
It feels like we lost the game. I threw it right to the guy, so it wasn't like he made a good play. I mean, good for him. He caught it. Awesome.
Can't let the Eagles beat us twice.
You know, we spent a lot of time on our ball search culture. Yeah, we had to have a drive there, so guys made some plays. For our group, we talk about we don't care how we get on the field. We don't care the situation. We got to find a way to get off the field.
They had a good plan today. The grit, the mental toughness of our football team was on display.
You know, I'd rather be 2-1 than 1-2.
The Bears are the Bears.
You know, we have played 3 out of 17.
But there's no flinch, really, out of that group.
But our guys didn't blink.
Again, saying it doesn't make it so.
Frustration that turns to focus. I would say that I'm very focused and motivated to continue eliminating things that cost us games. It was a screen that I hadn't really run before, and I was like, Christian, what is this again? So he reminded me, and he's like, I was like, oh yeah, I got you. So that was bad by me. I got to know exactly what it is.
Offensively, he's got some good things going. He's got Wilson there, which is a plus.
The flea flicker, we're right there, and it's like, whatever.
It's a tough job to do when there's someone in your face. We need everybody needs to do better.
This game is the margin between winning and losing is so small.
If you don't take care of business, you don't play well, then you're not going to win.
Guys were connected against a high-strain team, which leads to some extra yardage.
Give Brian an opportunity, man. He's got a great personality for this sport and for you people here.
There's a lot of things that took part in that game. We lost that game as a team. We took the lead as a team, and we're going to. These are the chances to be able to lean in and see what you're really about.
Well, I like Michael and enjoy his family. Like I said, I've sat at ball games with him apart from the Cowboys. So, as a matter of fact, I watched the whole first half of our last preseason game with his mom. And we sat there and watched the whole up in the suite together. Listen, he's an emotional guy. He's Irish.
Who was the maniacal giggler? What was
the
that?
one and only, keeping San Francisco afloat, Dano.
That
With
was
the ripped jersey.
That was Mac Jones. That was 3-0. That was 3-0 Mac Jones.
He also didn't know the play. He had to ask Christian.
Roy, find for me isolated, please, what I believe if I played secret audio from somebody who had been administered into a facility where they had lost their sanity, and what they would sound like if I just had secret audio of somebody who had officially lost their mind. He's laughing at the fact that he threw an interception to a defender who didn't have to do much of anything to intercept the ball.
You can't win with that.
That's Kimmel, undefeated.
But big picture, you can't win with that.
What does the Bears or the Bears mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, I don't know what he means by that. The Bears. Of course, the Bears are the Bears, but I know what it used to mean in the '80s. I don't know what it means today.
Also, Cam Hayward has learned from his coach, talking about getting off the field.
I'm trying to know what ball search culture is.
What is a high-strain team?
Yeah.
The Dolphins.
I like some of the terminology used throughout this sport. I was listening to a game on satellite radio this weekend when I was just driving, and a running back broke out into the open field, and the announcer just yelled, "He's a flight risk!"
Good call.
It is. It was a good
Who was
call.
on the call there, Dan? Who was it?
I don't know.
We got to find that guy. That guy knows what he's doing.
Why were you driving during football?
Farmers market, Dan?
You're married, dude.
Yeah.
You're so
my
married.
favorite part of this show so far
Apple
today was it
picking,
just
Dan?
dawning on you that you're married.
Aaron's.
Let's go to the pumpkin patch, Dan.
Oh, it's fall.
It's fall.
You guys don't drive during college football at any point on a Saturday? You guys don't leave the television at any point on a Saturday?
I did.
If I do, I'm not happy.
We know Roy
You're
does. Roy doesn't watch
married.
football.
I mean, no, I'm locked in on the game.
Unless I got a kids party I got to go to or something.
That's what I had to do.
Don't get
This
me
couch
started
right
on
here,
that.
this is where I live all day.
Please keep playing Mac Jones. Again, this is him talking about throwing an interception where a defender didn't have to do anything because Mac Jones just realized that he threw the ball to a defender who didn't have to do anything to intercept it.
That's me if the Marlins make the playoffs.
Against the spread is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Tony, go ahead.
Thank you, Roy. We're starting off in Thursday night football. Got Seahawks traveling over to the Arizona Cardinals, and the Cardinals are not that good. Seahawks surprisingly good, Dan. That's a team that when I was asking Diana, I thought she was going to mention the Seahawks yesterday, saying that's a team that nobody's really talking about. The Seahawks are an interesting team. Sam Darnold playing well, Jackson Smith and Jigba, wide receiver 1, playing awesome. Okay, defense playing tough. I know they haven't really played anybody, but this is their first division game. And the Cardinals, we all know, suck. So much so, Seahawks are a 1.5 favorite against the Arizona Cardinals at the Big Toaster. Okay? We're going to go Seahawks minus 1.5 against the Cardinals. Sam Darnold, over 2 touchdowns, by the way. Lock that in. That was against the spread.
I'm going with Virginia.
Good right there. I'm surprised you weren't distracted there. Why don't you do it back to him?
I'm going with Virginia. I like the Who's. That offense can move the ball. They had one game where they had 700 yards of offense. I'm a big fan of Chandler Morris. From TCU to North Texas and now to Whoville. I think this is a scary night game for FSU. They may win, but it's going to be one of those shootout type of games. Nothing is given in the ACC. Everything is earned. I like the Who's plus 7.5 against the spread.
You are the biggest national proponent of Virginia football that I have heard this century.
Wow, you haven't heard that their offense can light it up?
You have been very big on Virginia football, and I don't hear a lot of people saying what you're saying about Virginia football. Perhaps Jessica will say some of the same. Mike Gundy, I've been telling you that for the last 2 years, Mike Gundy has been in charge of what seems like the worst big football program in America. He has been fired, and while many of you cite his "I'm a man, I'm 40" speech, I think he had one to rival it. So we're going to play both of them here. Let's play both sounds, but play whichever one you want first, Roy, whether it's "I'm a man, I'm 40" or whether what I believe to be just as bad a press conference that Mike Gundy gave.
So I looked it up on my phone. What would be the legal limit? Oklahoma is 0.08 and Ollie was 0.1. So I looked it up, and it was based on body weight. Not to get into the legal side of it, but I thought really 2 or 3 beers or 4. I'm not justifying what Ollie did. I'm telling you what decision I made. Well, I thought I've probably done that 1,000 times in my life.
That sounds like justifying it and getting into the legal part of it. Like he wasn't going to do either one.
He doesn't want to do the legal part, Dan.
But he ended up doing both.
That's 4,000 beers.
And let's play his other more famous press conference, the one that will be his entire career's remembrance, even though he occasionally won 10 games, none of which you remember.
If your child goes down the street and somebody makes fun of him because he dropped a pass in a pickup game or says he's fat and he comes home crying to his mom, you'd understand. But you haven't had that. But someday you will. And when your child comes home, you'll understand. If you want to go after an athlete, one of my athletes, you go after one that doesn't do the right things. You don't downgrade him because he does everything right and may not play as well on Saturday. And you let us make that decision. That's why I don't read the newspaper. Because it's garbage. And the editor that let it come out is garbage. Attacking an amateur athlete for doing everything right. And then you want to write articles about guys that don't do things right and downgrade them, the ones that do make plays. Are you kidding me? Where are we at in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Welcome, Jessica. What were your thoughts on Mike Gundy being fired? It was a couple of games late.
He was a lot more entertaining when Oklahoma State was good than it's been the last couple years. But I wouldn't even say it was a couple of games late, Dan. Well, I guess I would say that. It was like 4 games late. I don't really understand why they did this now on a Tuesday during a game week and not last year when he agreed to restructure his deal and clean house of coaches. Like, it just seemed like the writing was on the wall last year. They went winless in the Big 12, and I really don't understand the timing of all of this. It kind of reeks of dysfunction.
Well, they just lost to Tulsa, and then before that, but they lost to Tulsa at home. They got blown out by Tulsa at home, and they lost the week before. Who'd they lose to the week before? Because they lost another game where they're not competitive.
They got destroyed by Oregon in embarrassing fashion.
And it was after Mike Gundy made comments about NIL, which has been sort of the issue the last few seasons, that Oklahoma State has not been competitive in NIL. But yes, Dan, like the Tulsa game was actually a close game, which is almost worse that you almost could have beaten Tulsa. Those schools are very close to one another. But yeah, I just don't really, they got blown out so many times last year. Like I really just don't understand why do it on a Tuesday when you played on Friday and now you have a game on Saturday. Your offensive coordinator is taking over as the interim head coach. It's very strange.
Zaslow, are you going to be at Georgia, Alabama this weekend?
Yeah, I'm in Athens this weekend. I'm very excited, actually. That's going to be awesome.
Jessica, do you feel like you know what Alabama is?
I don't feel like I know what any team is yet. I do know that I'm more skeptical on Virginia's offense than Mike is. I will say the caliber of defense Virginia has played so far this season, and yes, Mike, they have put up a lot of points against William and Mary and Coastal Carolina, but Florida State's defense right now in DFEI is top 40 versus NC State, which is the next best defense that Virginia's played this season, ranking somewhere around 77 at the moment. And Virginia was able to score 31 points on them, but I'm a little bit more skeptical they're able to do quite as much damage against Florida State, but remains to be seen. Maybe you'll be right.
So Alabama last year beat Georgia. It was an awesome game in Tuscaloosa. That was like the last time we felt good, or Alabama fans felt good about Kalen DeBoer, because the very next week they lost to Vanderbilt. If they win in Athens this weekend, Jess, like, what do you think the conversation starts to sound like around the Alabama head coach?
Honestly, I think that it will be a lot of Georgia's not that good. I mean, like we already saw Georgia down to the wire with Tennessee last weekend. I also think that if you go back to last year, Jalen Milroe won my September Heisman last year. He is an electric college football player. But even the second half against Georgia last year, Alabama let them all the way back into the game, and it took heroics from Ryan Williams and Milroe to ultimately win that game. So there was a lot of skepticism, I think, that Alabama was ready in the first half. They did a lot of scripted stuff well. They had a really good game plan, but then when Georgia was able to overcome some of their issues offensively, Alabama didn't have a great response to that. So I do think Alabama has a long way to go before the Kalen DeBoer doubters are proven wrong.
Georgia's a small favorite at home. Kirby Smart has beaten Alabama. How many? One time?
Not a lot.
Has he beaten? What is he against Alabama?
One in four, maybe.
No, I think it might be. I think it might be like one
in the regular
7.
season.
I think he's been pretty bad against Alabama, and I'm not remembering the victory off the top of my head.
Well, but it's also Saban. Saban's gone. The window's open now, Dan. Saban was Kirby's foil to a lot of people's minds. So there's really no excuse now.
So Milroe won your September Heisman last year. Who's winning your September Heisman this year? And could it be John Mateer, who just broke his hand and left OU in a pretty tough situation?
It's actually Diego Pavia. He's still the front runner for the September Heisman. But yeah, John Mateer's injury is not a good one, obviously. It seems like he could be back by the start of November. It really is a bummer for the Red River shootout, whatever we call it now, because those are two teams that I would have loved to see play each other at full strength. That's Texas and Oklahoma. So if he does come back and Oklahoma can sort of keep it together over the next few games, I think, their defense is really going to have to step up and make things miserable for South Carolina's offense. South Carolina's offensive line has already struggled this season, and we saw Oklahoma's defense really attack Auburn's quarterback last weekend. So they're going to have to really have some standout defensive performances, which of course is that's Brent Venables' baby. I think that they're up to the task. But the other issue for Oklahoma's offense so far this season has been inconsistency in the run game, and it's difficult when your backup quarterback's coming in now. He did play a few games last year, Michael Hawkins Jr. But if you don't have a run game to really lean on and rely on, that makes his job a lot more difficult. So I think Oklahoma's going to have to figure out some answers there and just play really, really great defense.
They're both going on at the same time this weekend, Jess. It's Saturday evening. If you could only watch one, Georgia, Alabama, or Penn State, Oregon.
This is what the quad box is all about, Zaz. I don't have to ever make that decision ever again.
What year is that question from?
Yeah,
don't you like watching the game with sound?
Let me rephrase. Pretend this is a question from 2016.
I don't know who you impersonating there, not me.
I don't know. I think I would probably choose Penn State, Oregon, to be honest with you. It's a whiteout game. Penn State really hasn't been tested at all this year. Oregon also hasn't played a top 25 team yet. I want to see their quarterback against a good defense, Dante Moore. It's a tough road game for Oregon, who I think I don't know what the spread is on that game. There's a lot of games this weekend, Zaz, where the road team is favored by enough points that I'm I'm curious about that. USC and Illinois. So Illinois just got blown out by 50 points, 60 points to Indiana last weekend, but USC is only a 6.5 point favorite going to Urbana-Champaign this weekend. So there's a few games like that. Notre Dame at Arkansas. The line in some places down to 3.5, which to me indicates Notre Dame's best defensive player, Leonard Moore. Maybe he's not going to play this weekend. He's had a little bit of an ankle. That's really bad for Notre Dame's defense, who really needs him to be able to play. So I'm kind of, that's what I'm going to be watching this weekend is some of the road favorites going in across cross-country trips, seeing how they fare, places like Oregon and Penn State.
Yeah, USC had a late-night game last week, and now they're kicking things off with a noon start in Champaign. That's
Ridiculous.
Probably what the line is taken into account. I was really into this Notre Dame-Arkansas game before the season because I thought that could be a tricky spot for Notre Dame, and now I'm even more interested because Arkansas got caught looking ahead. I know Memphis is a good football team, but the way that game landed in their schedule was awfully nice for Memphis.
Arkansas shouldn't have lost that game.
They shouldn't have. have,
they
but
blew it.
Memphis is a solid team. But a lot of people are citing look-ahead factor. It was sandwiched in between two big games. What do you think?
You think Arkansas's running back was looking ahead in the last 3 minutes when he fumbled inside the 5-yard line?
I'm saying the reason why the game was close was because, Arkansas was potentially – I mean, these are all cliches. I don't actually know. I doubt they were all like, hey, we can't worry.
You told me at the beginning of the show today that you know ball and I don't know ball.
No, I didn't say I know ball. I just said you don't.
You said you know ball.
I mean, I know more ball than you. I don't know what you're doing right now.
You don't know more ball than me.
No, it wasn't just
Says
you.
he doesn't go to you for ball.
Yeah, it was Jeremy too. I don't go to either of you for ball. But what do you make of this game, Jess? Because Notre Dame's defense, I know their offense is scoring crazy. CJ Carr seems like the truth, but that defense only gets more scary when they give up 30 points at Purdue.
Yeah, well, one of those touchdowns was in garbage time. We talked about this extensively in my podcast, The Echoes, with Mike Golick Jr. Notre Dame, overall, their coverage hasn't been what was expected coming into the season. They had to start 2 true freshmen last weekend, because of injury, and a redshirt freshman at safety because of a targeting penalty from the game before. So they were playing a little bit inexperienced in the secondary, which is a position group that was excellent for them last year. And again, like I said, Leonard Moore being out, and he's probably the best corner in college football. That's a really tough loss to overcome for Notre Dame. So they really have to figure out what they're doing in the secondary. And I think that starts up front with the pass rush. They've got to be able to figure out how to get some pressure on the quarterback. Taylon Green for Arkansas is a really exciting player to watch. He does make mistakes, but he can move and he can exploit you if you're not disciplined. So I think it's a tough task for Notre Dame defensively, but you're right, Mike. Arkansas's defense has also let teams run the ball well. Notre Dame has 2 awesome running backs, Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love. CJ Carr has been great. The wide receivers have been really solid. The offensive line's gotten better every week. So I'm taking the overs in every Notre Dame game until proven otherwise. I mean, this was a team last year that shut teams down defensively. That has not been the case so far this year. And granted, they have played 2 top 25 teams to start the year and did well enough against Purdue to blow them out. So, take it with a grain of salt.
You got beef with any top 25 teams right now?
I don't have beef with anyone ever, Zaz. What are you talking about?
I mean, like the rankings. You got beef with any of the rankings?
That's week 4. I don't have beef. Well, I save my beef to week 10, and then I get really beefy.
Do you have a way to get intrigued about Clemson UNC?
I'm scheduled for that.
The most exciting thing about Clemson UNC is that they're doing something before the game that everyone should do all the time. They announced there's this concert series going on at North Carolina this year, and Ludacris would be performing before the game. The kickoff time was TBD. Everyone thought, maybe it'll be, primetime kickoff because it's Clemson and UNC. No, they got a noon slot. So Ludacris will supposedly be performing at 10 a.m. This is what time all concerts should start, Dan. 10 a.m. You're in there, you're drinking your coffee, maybe you're still in your jammies. The concert ends, you go to the game, and then you go home and you go to bed. Why aren't we doing this more often?
Should I go to the Ludacris concert?
Yes.
I think I'm going to be there.
Yes.
But 10 a.m. 10 a.m. is too early for a Ludacris concert.
I don't know.
No.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Is 10 a.m. too early for a Ludacris concert?
It's ludicrous.
Luda!
Give me that energy.
We need to do more 10 a.m. concerts. I saw that there's some bar that opened in New York where it opens at 8 o'clock and then people come and dance and then they leave at 10 o'clock. I need to figure out where this thing is because that is my timeline. You eat an early dinner, early bird special dance, 6:30. You go out, you dance, you have a couple drinks. You're in bed by 11 o'clock. I can't think of a single thing that sounds better than that.
You are a young person. How is it that you are a fossilized mummy inside?
I love sleeping. I love my bed. I have the most comfortable bed in the entire world. I have just an amazing setup. I have wonderful sheets. I have a wonderful duvet, Dan. It just feels so good when I get into bed at night. And I think about it from the minute I wake up. I think about how cozy I'm going to be come 10:30. And these stupid 11 p.m. Eastern Big Ten conference games are cramping my style. I hate it. I hate staying up to watch WNBA playoff games. I hate all of it. I want to be in bed, falling asleep to the Hawaii game. And I wake up maybe in the second quarter. It's 12:45 or something. And then I fall back asleep. And then I wake up again. And then I fall back asleep.
You're thinking about your bed while you're in your bed in the morning. You're thinking about getting back into your bed at night.
Literally, I wake up and I'm like, this feels so good. I can't wait to be back here in 12 hours.
Jess, what did you make of Whit Weeks and Lane Kiffin's daughter hard launching?
Wait. Okay, I have a prop. Hold on. Stay there.
Okay.
Vamp.
All right, we're going to be right here.
For those that don't know,
where could we go?
For those that don't know, Whit Weeks, who's a tremendous player for LSU, their team captain, he decided to announce to the world that he is dating Lane Kiffin's daughter, and it just so happens to be game week between LSU and Ole Miss. So the head games have started early. I think that Lane Kiffin has already said take the over on social media, saying that he's got to run it up on that LSU defense. So
He's
the
so
banter
weird.
has already begun. And today there is a special on ESPN, The Many Lives of Lane Kiffin. I might actually be in on that because
It looks good. I saw some clips.
I mean, he's had a remarkably interesting career and life. So I'm dialed.
Is a coach allowed to tweet out take the over?
Chris, I had the same question. Like, that can't be. That just certainly, there must be some sort of rules about that. Mike, I don't know if you said this while I was getting my prop. Do you know what Whit Weeks' nickname is?
I do not know his nickname.
Well, let me show you. He's the Honky Badger.
That is
great.
Wow.
If you guys remember, I said last year Lehman was producing that SEC Any Given Saturday show that was on Netflix that came out a couple months ago.
Which in no way has influenced your Diego Pavia takes.
No, not at all. I mean, Lee barely talked to Diego Pavia. That's not true. Total full disclosure. He shot a lot with Vanderbilt. The Honky Badger is the nickname of Whit Weeks. He wears like a very slutty crop top. He's like a white middle linebacker. So we have this koozie now, courtesy of the Weeks brothers. I'm not sure which one. There's 3 of them on LSU, Dan. I'm not sure which one gave this to Lehman, but he shot some stuff with them at their.
The Honey Badger's
home, so.
Retired, right? He's not in the league anymore. The Honey Badger
He
is
was
out
on.
of the
He was on
NFL?
Amazon pregame coverage. I was impressed with him, and Derek Carr got high marks there too.
Last question before we let you go here. And again, The Echoes is the name of her podcast for all your Notre Dame information. Sister Jean retired.
Retired from what?
From her job being
Still with us.
The basketball lady. Here's the thing, Dan. So yesterday, have you guys talked about the Rapture yet?
A little bit yesterday. How old is Sister Jean? Is she
106, I believe?
That's too old.
Yesterday, I
That's too
saw
old for
the
somebody.
quote graphic come up that she was retiring, and I thought that she had passed away. And I am a jackass, so I wanted to be the first person to the group chat with the Rapture joke. And then I realized after the fact, it just said retired. So I felt really terrible about that. I guess I would feel worse if she did actually pass away. But I mean, she's 106. Like, she's obviously had an incredible life. So anyways, shout out to Sister Jean, not raptured. Yeah, I guess my beef with the top 25s as, let's bring it full circle, Illinois still being ranked after losing by 50 points is kind of silly. But
I'm with you. I don't think you could be ranked if you lose to anyone by 50.
yeah, that's a lot of points.
I thought you didn't do beef until week 10. What happened? You changed your opinion?
This is like, what's it called? Like impossible chicken or whatever. This is like fake beef. Like it's vegan beef. It's made out of like, I don't know, seitan, whatever that stuff's called.
That's my.
I don't think it's called seitan.
Seitan is S-E-I-T-A-N. I don't know how to pronounce that word. You guys don't know anything about vegan food. Don't
I
scold
don't,
me.
but I
does,
would
though.
say seitan would probably be bad for branding. I would say maybe seitan.
Seitan,
Miroslav?
perhaps.
Mike Ryan,
It's a wheat derivative.
what is your take on being 106 years old?
That's too old for somebody. People shouldn't be that old.
Time to die?
My grandma always says, put a bullet in my head if I live that long, which is very inappropriate.
Especially like these last few years, like Sister Jean, like she lived through COVID. And you just got to be like,
she's lived through a
we're
lot
not
more
exactly-
than COVID.
We're not exactly like
She
ending
was around
this
for
on
the
an
original
upper.
COVID.
Well, she was just retired. She's on the back nine now.
Spanish flu.
She lived through the bubonic plague. COVID's a disease come lately
And all that
compared to what
Tylenol
she
she's
lived
probably
through.
had.
It's crazy that she's lived long enough for them to invent germ theory and then also rebuke germ theory again.
I mean, holy crap.
That is Jessica's grandmother.
Sister Jean?
That is not Sister Jean. Good seeing you, Jessica.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for being on with us. I want to get to a handful of things here, including something that The Onion is reporting, but we've got to get to...
I love them.
Yeah, it's a pretty good report. I'm going to get it from my phone now. But first, I need the Ray Hudson call of the day because you guys think I'm going to forget about this, and we're going to do it every day until...
We don't need the full open, though.
We're
we
hoping
do.
you
The
forget
whole
about
thing.
it.
Every day until the World Cup.
Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson.
Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson of the day. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson of the day.
Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson call of the day. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson call of the day. Ray Hudson. 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 Ray Hudson.
This is what Dan wanted. This is what Dan wanted. He wanted a call of the day. He wanted Ray Hudson call of the day. What? Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson.
Ray Hudson call of the day.
Hudson. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson call of the day. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson call of the day. Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson.
Ray Hudson call of the day.
This is what Dan wanted. 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 This is what Dan
Hudson call.
This is what Dan wanted.
I'd like the call now as well, though.
Oh, okay.
That's what he does. This doesn't get any better world football than this, people. Xavi sets the table beautifully. And Lionel Messi once again just capitalizes like only Lionel can. Trickier than a monkey up a monkey tree. Messi, Messi, Messi. Pure scientific football again.
This is a report from the Onion, Dateline, Indianapolis, with observers noting that the tragic development evidently has yet to affect the show's content in any way. Reports confirmed Monday that no one working at the Pat McAfee show seems to have noticed that co-host A.J. Hawk has been dead for the last 3 days. Quote,
I saw that. That was funny.
He's got like blood coming out of his nose and he's like gaunt.
Hold on a minute. I got to read more from the report. Quote, what's his face has been dead since last week, but look, none of the other guys are even aware of it. Pat's just going on about the Ravens' run defense while the poor guy's slumped over and decomposing in his chair. Longtime viewer Russell Barker said of Hawk's bloated, putrefying corpse, acknowledging that the deceased talk show personality's glassy, empty stare has grown even glassier and emptier since his passing. Quote, you'd think someone would have picked up on the fact that he's not blinking or moving, but Pat and the Toxic Table Boys are cutting it up with Kirk Herbstreit like it's a regular show, or maybe they're just tuning him out like they always do, end quote. At press time, sources reported that a rat had begun gnawing on Hawk's face as McAfee questioned whether Vikings quarterback J.J. McCarthy would be able to adjust to pro-level pass rushes.
That's a good question, though.
I'm surprised more people haven't picked up on this story.
Dan, I hate to break this to you because we're having so much fun, but The Onion is satirical.
Oh, come on, man.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I got
checked.
ball sacked.
Yeah, he's alive.
Oh, that's, well, I'm not going to say that's too bad.
I almost trapped you.
Tony, I've got some problems here with your guys' adult friends. Your guys' adult friends seem to have some judgment issues. I'm worried about Chris Cody, who's going away for the weekend on a buddy trip. I think he's a little old for that, and I think his friends are too immature for that. And I'm worried about the judgment of Tony's friends as well, because one of your friends has done something bad this week.
One of my friends, Dan, has done something unspeakable. Not even bad, unspeakable, okay? And he's a great kid. I love this kid, okay? Shout out to Steven, big fan of his, right? I like him. Him and his wife had a daughter. Her daughter's birthday, September 28th, which just also happened to be Sunday. So instead of, like any rational person would do, as the head of your household, and being like, hey, we're setting the date on a Saturday, they're having the party on a Sunday. On a Sunday, okay. Maybe a 10 o'clock birthday. She's a year old. You got a 10 o'clock birthday, 11 o'clock birthday. You're there for a couple hours.
Love that when you're done by noon.
Exactly. Bing, bang. All right, we're done. We're going to go to the Carolina Ale House, watch the games. I'm like, no. What we're going to do is Sunday, 3 o'clock p.m.
Oh, what? Now that's a problem.
And I'm
3
like,
o'clock?
My wife put it in the calendar.
That's
and I
a
was
witching
like,
hour.
Are they calling it the witching hour party?
I was like, wait a second, babe, hold on.
It should be called bull.
Well,
my God.
I'm looking at the thing, and I'm like, well, wait, Sunday's her first birthday party at 3:30. Why is that in my calendar? She's like, yeah, that's when they're having the party. It's at a park. No. And I'm like, at a park?
At a park? There's no TVs at a park.
No TVs at a park. And I'm like, so it's Sunday. It's 3 o'clock in the middle of all of the great games that are happening. And then on top of that, we got Ravens Chiefs starting at 4:25. And I'm going to be where?
You can't go.
At a park in Westchester?
Don't go.
Hot as balls?
Why you got to go?
Because they're part of our friend
Ball
group.
and chain.
Well, you said it.
Part of your friend group?
Part of our friend group.
Not part of your friends.
Jenny's friends with his wife.
That sounds like a Jenny friend show up thing.
Yeah,
like
with the
Jenny,
big
Jenny's attendance more required than Tony's attendance. Tony's got a job. Honey, I got a job.
Agreed.
I mean, it's Ravens Chiefs. It's a Waterloo game.
And on top of that, in the 1 p.m. slot, Eagles Bucks.
A Waterloo game? You've got it
Yes.
as a Waterloo game?
Yes. That's right, Dan. 3 consecutive weeks of saying Waterloo game.
What are you expecting from the Chiefs? Because you've been yelling at me for 3 weeks about the Chiefs.
I'm expecting the Chiefs to do what they usually do against Lamar Jackson, and that's win. Lamar Jackson
Really?
is 1-5 in his career against the Kansas City Chiefs.
1-3 Ravens?
Yeah. Well, you want to take that same tone and say 1-3 Chiefs? There's one team of our generation, and it would be far more shocking for that team to be the 1-3 team, the 1-3 team Chiefs. That'd be absurd to me. That'd be crazy.
You know what's crazy? Having a birthday party at 3 o'clock on a Sunday when we have
yeah.
that massive game. On top of that, the other game in the 4 o'clock slate, Colts Rams. Which have you said, big game.
I don't want to do spoilers, but I told you that already.
I think I can compete with Tony in terms of friends doing things that we don't like them to do. Because I'm traveling. Dan painted it as a boys' trip. This is a couple's trip going away from one of my oldest friends' 40th birthdays.
Like age-wise old? Like
he's turning 40. Okay. Yes.
So oldest friends. So.
Well, no, like one of my longest friends. Apologies for
why
that.
didn't you say longest?
Anyways, so we're going on a cruise, okay? And I have this thing when I go on cruises. I get the drink package. Anytime I see a group with matching shirts, you do a shot. Oh. And I love this game. I'm going to be that group this weekend. They're doing matching shirts. We got sent to my house yesterday. No. It says, "Blame happy 40th. What happens on the cruise stays on the cruise." Like, we're going to be those people the first day of the cruise wearing the matching shirts. And I've always loathed this. And it's this one friend. I'm going to call him by name. It's Matt and his wife. They did this for his bachelor party when we did Epcot around the world. It's the only friends of mine that I've ever had.
Is it Matt or is it his wife?
I like if you really want to get to the weeds of it, I don't think Matt's doing this. Yeah. But it's matching shirts, and I don't want to be wearing them.
All right, I need to ask you something first about this drink package. Because this is always a debate for me when we go on cruises. How much do you have to drink in a day to feel like, okay, this was worth it?
I think the general line is anywhere from 8 to 11. Yeah. And the boy
9.5 drinks is the line.
And the boy is starting. We're starting at 10 a.m. by the pool. So, like, this is not an issue. If you're a Cody, this is not a problem for you.
Start earlier.
I'm robbing the place.
Well, the cruise, are you coming to work on Monday, or are you going to be off next week? Like it's a one-day cruise?
This is a cruise out of Port Canaveral, so I'm traveling up to Orlando. I will not be in Monday because of that.
So how many days are you on this cruise?
We leave Friday afternoon, ports Monday morning, and then I drive back.
So for the weekend, you're going to have at least 30 drinks is what you're saying.
You want me to try to count? Because I think I'll smash that over.
Please try to count. I would like to see that.
Well, I can see. You ever do this move? I kind of feel pride and shame when you look at the day. Because The way it works on your drink, you get a bill and it's all $0, but it's like it tells you every bar you got to drink at.
Hypothetically 17.
Like I'm telling you, like on a good day, like on Saturday when we hit Coco K, like I'm talking 20. I'm thinking 20.
What number would it have to be for you to be a little bit like, that was a lot?
Over 25, and I'm like, that's crazy.
25 drinks in a day?
I mean, the apple martini doesn't fall far from the tree on this one. Like, these guys, they're the only thing that the Codys like more than a drink is a bargain. So they're going to make sure to get their money.
And both of them together?
Man, don't sell yourself short there, pal.
I'm telling you, I know it sounds crazy, 20 drinks. You start at 10 a.m., the way you're ordering these drinks, I'll take a shot here. Like, you can get to 15 before, like, 4 p.m.
Fellas can drink on this show. Fellas can drink.
No, but
we like drinks.
I mean, 15 drinks. No, that's going to feel bad. You're going to be useless to us next week. Just totally useless. I want to give you guys some football stats, and I want you guys to tell me which one of these you find most interesting, okay? Derrick Henry has 2 fourth-quarter fumbles this season. Before that, he had 2 fourth-quarter fumbles in 136 games. The Giants, while they're in the division of the Eagles, who have won 19 of 20,
it's a good team.
The Giants are 3-17 since the start of last season, and since Daboll started 7-2. He's 11-33-1. So he has done nothing since the initial start where he made us all think that Daniel Jones was good for a while, and then we wandered away and are like, it's not good, and then he's back to being good again.
MVP.
And Ashton Genty, 68% of the time this season, he's being hit behind the line of scrimmage. He's breaking tackles. He's got 150 yards after contact, but it's always contact in the backfield. 3 out of 4 plays, Ashton Genty's getting the ball, and he's getting hit before he gets to the line of scrimmage.
He definitely hates his life, right?
That offensive line, Mina and others thought the Raiders were going to be good at offense. They got Pete Carroll, they got Geno Smith, they got Tom Brady, and they can't do anything.
Geno's up there in yards.
Yeah, because they're so far behind. He's constantly chucking it up. I'm kind of shocked at how sideways this has gone for the Raiders in 2 weeks.
What are your thoughts on which of those stats was the most interesting one?
I think the Genty. I mean, it seems like a miserable existence if you're Ashton Genty through 3 games.
We were all so certain. This guy, I know he doesn't have the pro body type, but we were all certain watching college football is that guy's really, really good. And if there's ever an argument to pick a running back high, it's Genty. But then I do remember the photos of him at the Heisman ceremony, and he is so much smaller than all the other guys. I'm curious to see how this is going to look in the NFL. So far, it doesn't look great, but it doesn't look great because he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage because Dan mentioned he is breaking tackles. He's just not going to look the same kind of dynamic if he's getting hit that often in the backfield.
The other thing in this sport that I think is either undercovered or covered poorly, okay? Lane Johnson left the game the other day for the Eagles, and they had 10 yards on the next 6 drives because Lane Johnson is enormously important to that football team. And I don't think we talk about offensive linemen enough. I don't think when I say Trent Williams, you know what I'm saying. When I say Lane Johnson, you know what I'm saying. But after that, you don't think of dominant offensive linemen. And the idea that the Eagles would lose Lane Johnson and a team that has won 19 of 20 for the next 6 drives would get a total of 10 yards because they can't do very much if Lane Johnson's not out there mauling everybody.
We don't know what we're watching. We don't know how to evaluate quarterback play. We don't know the routes, so we don't know how good a receiver is. We're doing our best with the information that we have, and we don't even have a live all-22 most of the cases. It is a little confusing to me, though, how in a game of real estate acquisition, we choose to ignore general units because who cares? Like individual, like it's hard to tell like what a guard does, I guess.
They pull.
Yeah, they can pull and sometimes they push. But individual units should absolutely be talked about way more. Like the Eagles' offensive line unit gets talked about a lot. They don't have Jason Kelce, so less so now. But it's the game. They literally put a ball where they think you move the line of scrimmage to, and a lot of teams base their identity on literally just doing that. We are going to push our way down the field, and it opens everything up. It opens everything up for the quarterback. It makes every other player on the field that much better, and we just choose to ignore it.
If you put importance on every single unit on a football team. Are the Eagles' offensive line the best unit in football?
I love that take. Yes.
Like receiver, quarterback room, DBs, linebackers, across the board.
The single most important unit in the sport. Pro
so you're
NFL?
asking, is the Eagles' offensive line better at what they do than the best quarterback in the NFL?
Than everything.
Better than Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen? I think the Eagles' offensive line over the last few years has been better at its job than even Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes have been at their individual job.
I raise you the Bengals wide receivers.
It's a good room.
Yeah, but Burrow's out, and all of a sudden, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins had one catch last week.
When you guys talk about guard play, I was trying not to be a prisoner of the moment during that University of Miami, Florida game when I said, Brockemeyer, that's the worst game I've ever seen a center play, because I'm not watching the center. And so I'm not ever noticing what the hell the center's doing. I'm like, why does he keep getting penalties? Why can't he snap the ball on time? Why is the center getting multiple false starts?
Grades out really high for them. I don't know what I'm watching.
You're pathetic. You had to get in there with that. He grades out really high. You had to have the first words on the show and the last words on the show on the University of Miami. You disgust me.
I was just trying to echo your point in that we don't know what we're seeing. Because if you ask me, I'm like, what? You got to snap the ball. Well, that's the one thing I know you're supposed to do, but don't snap it early.
That's right.
And then they're like, no, they like him a lot. He's really good. He grades out so high.
Why did you make me somebody who was wearing a cowboy hat and a belt buckle and cowboy boots, pointing at my television, talking like I'm Larry the Cable Guy?
When it comes to the center, they're supposed to call out protections to the quarterback. Most people don't know that. Center's job, snap the ball to like 90% of folks.
Where's the mic?
I did a South Beach session with Vince Wilfork, and we were just talking about how thankless that job is, because I know we say that quarterback is the hardest position in the sport, and it is mentally, maybe all of sports, but physically there can't be a worse job than being the nose tackle. And I was just talking to him about the idea, because Bill Belichick says that's the best defensive lineman I've ever coached. He also says that's the best leader that I had, and he had Tom Brady on his team. So I'm talking to Wilfork about, did you ever find, because he was always double teamed, did you ever find that any one man had something about him that you were like, man, this is a lot? And he's like, Nick Mangold. Like Mangold was somebody who didn't need any help when he was blocking me, and he was the only one who didn't need any help.
I would love to see a study on individual IQ per position, because I've been told by people that play the game pretty routinely that outside of quarterback, the second most involved player on the field in terms of what you have to know is the center.
The Wonderlic test has those stats where the average score by position scores X on the Wonderlic.
How much time did you spend with Vince talking about his new wife? I guess we'll have to tune in and find out.
That was a low blow.
Bianca and I didn't make it.
You are very comfortable talking about how you met your wife, how much you love her, how important she is to you, and that's the reason that I asked the question. I've always admired that about you, that you have no problems whatsoever professing your love.
Well, the thing is, I got a new wife now. You know, me and Bianca didn't make it. So I moved on. We moved on. It was for the better for both of us. And but we are real, good friends. We are parents first. And the love I have for her, I have for her.
That's like a top 10 line in show history.
Roy, it's not only a top 10 line. I want you just to please play that again so that you guys can hear just the whimpering puncture of sound.
That's what that is. I just ran over to Roy and said, play that little sound.
The whimpering puncture of sound when he delivered that line, and I deflated like someone who had gotten the air taken out of him.
You are very comfortable talking about how you met your wife, how much you love her, how important she is to you, and that's the reason that I asked the question. I've always admired that about you, that you have no problems whatsoever professing your love.
Well, the thing is, I got a new wife now. Me and Bianca didn't make it.
What was that? Is that the chair?
It's just such a great couple of sentences. The way that he phrased it. Well, the thing is, I've got a new wife now. Bianca and I didn't make it. Punt.
Is that him saying so?
Punt.
As like a
punt. That is the least confidence I've ever had.
Well, the thing is, I got a new wife now. You know, me and Bianca didn't make it.
What?
Huh.